Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, it's nice to be back talking just Islanders hockey. It was cool to cover, the Stanley Cup Finals. Colorado obviously has won, beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 6 at Amalie Arena. But it's nice to be back talking solely Islanders hockey. A lot of Islanders news is going to start picking up, and it's going to be starting to get hot and heavy very quickly, Grump, with the NHL draft just right around the corner and trades that are being made.
Yeah. You want to touch on the trades?
Why not? Well, before we touch on the trade, because today we're going to talk about the Kevin Fiala trade. We're going to talk about a few items that we haven't had a chance to talk about for a while. A movie that's coming out, an Islanders movie, right? A movie that's tied to the Islanders that's going to be coming out here. That should be a good watch. We're going to be talking about as well, again, what expectations are for the Islanders, and if people are starting to get a little nervous with the most recent move made today. Before we get started, though, remember this is a twice-a-week Islanders-based podcast that happens every single Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter, Grumpy Old Man. We also have a secondary podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That's a podcast that happens every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is, again, a general sports podcast. We talk all things sports. We talk NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB, college athletics. We talk anything and everything sports. Again, it's a hoot and a holler. And also, we have a fan favorite segment of fan fights on that channel, Grump.
Yes, I love the fan fight segment. It's honestly my favorite part of the show. We do a little Howard Cosell and or Jim Lampley, whoever calling the fights, and it's very interesting. I love fan fights.
You can find the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show either in the link in the description below, or you could find it on TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. You can find that as a featured page on our YouTube channel as you're watching this show on YouTube. But without further ado, Grumpy, you've got Kevin Fiala today, who was traded to the Los Angeles Kings for a first-round pick in this year's draft, and defenseman Brock Faber, who was a second-round pick. I think it was 2 years ago. He's playing, I think, at the University of Michigan now. He's a defenseman for Kevin Fiala.
Didn't seem like they gave up much in assets. We were saying we're going to have to get rid of Oliver Wahlstrom, first-round picks, throw in Bavillier, all these things to get the pissant. And like I'm saying, whoosh, thank God bullet dodged on that one. I did not want him on this team. Sorry. And here's the thing. He might be a good fit for the Kings. Again, one of those teams that has exactly what teams who are looking to cut salary are looking for. Draft picks and just a plethora of just about NHL-ready prospects. Young players who can step right into a lineup. That's what teams are looking for. And, we don't have that. And like I said, crisis averted. Getting rid of pissant.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little about it. You're right. I don't think they gave up all that much necessarily for Kevin Fiala. I think the reason why he was so cheap is because you saw the contract Kevin Fiala signed almost immediately after his rights were traded. He wound up signing a 7-year, $7.9 million a year contract.
Way too much money for him. Way too much. See, so what does it tell you, right? The Kings were talking with Minnesota, and they said, hey, let us talk to the player, see if we can get a deal done. They said, yes, these are the parameters that we're looking for. Okay, we'll make the deal. That's exactly, and that's why the contract was signed immediately. They already were making contract with the player. Thank God. I got to say, thank God. Could you imagine paying this guy $7.9 million a year? I'm sorry. He had 2 months of good hockey play. 2 months. and then he parlays that into a 7-year deal. Incredible.
Okay, so technically it's not 7.9 million, it's 7.875 million, but just for all intents and purposes, we're going to call that 7.9 million. Here's the way I look at that contract. I think teams across the league, a large portion of teams maybe said, I'm not willing to pay Kevin Fiala, who had one really good season, right, which is his last year, a 7-year, $7.9 million a year contract. And I think the teams that were willing to, you look at your Ottawa Senators, you look at your teams like your Buffalo Sabres, because that was the report. Elliot Friedman said, hey, they expect Kevin Fiala to be traded within the next 24 hours. And everybody's like, holy shit, Kevin Fiala's going to be moved the next 24 hours. I wonder who he's going to. And he said Ottawa and Buffalo were going to be, they're the favorites at the moment. And, the Kings out of left field come out and say, well, we're a team that's in the rebuild process. We're a team that made the playoffs last year. We're a team that has production from our young players. We're a team that knows what it takes to win. And, Kevin Fiala could say, yep, I'm a young piece. I want to be part of that core. And he could say, I see the Kings are headed in the right direction. Perhaps the Senators and the Buffalo Sabres still aren't that, headed in the right direction for his opinion.
Talk about the way to do a rebuild. Los Angeles Kings absolutely knew how to do that rebuild. They kept 3 guys around who were veterans. Everyone else was a young player. Everyone else. They invested in draft picks years after years. They wouldn't go trading them away, trying to, go after a Stanley Cup they had no shot of winning. They just didn't dump all their first-round draft picks, and look at how it turned out for them. I mean, that's the way you do a rebuild. Think about it. They won a Stanley Cup in 2014? They were in full breakdown mode in 2017. And by 2022, they're back in the playoffs. I mean, that's the way you do it. I mean, the Rangers did it just like that. We're on our way to being like that also. I hate to tell you, Islander fans, we are on our way. But another reason, TJ, why the Kings were a good fit, they had salary cap space.
Yep.
I mean, the cap only went up $1 million, which, okay, it's $1 million. But there was only a select number of teams that could afford to sign Kevin Fiala, particularly to a contract like that. That's a massive overpay for me. I'm sorry. Not a fan of that contract at all.
And now I kind of want to talk a little bit, the contract. I will say this, right, Grumpy? Let's say Kevin Fiala continues to mature and he's a guy who's giving you close to, if not a little less, but maybe at a point of game pace. The contract now is going to be the worst the contract will ever be. You're getting him right now in his prime producing years as the cap continues to expand. I mean, you're going to have him through 25 to 32 years old. I mean, you're going to have him throughout the prime of his career. And, from the Kings standpoint, I don't necessarily think, obviously, I think the amount that was spent to sign him for a 7-year contract is, a little less than ideal. But here's the thing, if he continues to perform or performs at a near level what he did last year, that's a good signing for them, right? They've got cap space. They're a team that's in the rebuild. They're getting a guy throughout the prime of his career, a guy who can be around a point of game type player for, just roughly $7.9 million a year. It's not terrible.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the player. I mean, because those are the type of contracts I like. If a guy's got talent and he's showing he can produce year after year, at a high level, you're paying to lock him up, two years of unrestricted free agency. So you pay a little bit more on the front end. I've always agreed on that. And they get him through the prime of his career. I'm just not a fan of the player. That's all.
Okay.
I just, he's had 2 good months where he was on fire, absolutely on fire. Other than that, he's been, a 60-point guy, whatever he's been. I just, like I said, I'm just not a fan of his, just not.
I want to ask a little bit about this. Now, this is a tweet that happened to be flying out there that apparently to somebody's sources, to remember the media sources, the Islanders didn't even offer on Kevin Fiala.
Good. They shouldn't have. Is that really the type of move that Lou Lamoriello does, though? Has he ever done that for us? I remember he went after Scott Stevens years and years and years ago when he signed him for the Devils away from, I think it was St. Louis at the time. That was, his big move. He also let Shanahan go and got some draft picks for him. But that's really not a move that he's done in recent years. Certainly not in the last 15 or 20. Just doesn't do that anymore. I'm glad. Maybe he was asleep, when this trade was consummated. That would not be surprising, honestly. As you get older, you need more rest. So perhaps he was sleeping and he didn't answer the phone.
Here's the thing, though. I'm just not sure. Maybe they didn't submit an offer. Okay, but here's the thing: submitting an offer and inquiring about the player are two different things. So make sure that you're always able to distinguish those, Grumpy, right? Because I mean, maybe they didn't submit an offer because when they had talked about, hey, what's the price on them, they obviously had wanted to say, okay, what what are you and your agent wanting to sign for? And if it wasn't reasonable, maybe that just completely ruled the Islanders out of the equation. Now, I will tell you this much. If $7.9 million a year, let's say that was unreasonable for the Islanders to where they deemed it to where they are not going to make an offer.
For a guy who scored 85 points this year.
Well, I was about to say, I'm just talking about, let's say, I'm just going to give two hypotheticals, right? They didn't offer him because either they didn't think the players of quality talent to play on the Islanders or to help improve the team or whatever, because he was cheap, right? It wasn't that they were asking for an arm and a leg and got 2 first-round picks, Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Hull. It wasn't like they got anything ridiculous haul back in return. It was a very doable trade regarding what you had to send away. It either means that, A, they didn't think Kevin Fiala was going to help elevate the team's game and help move them in the right direction, or B, they didn't like how much money he wanted to make. So I look at this one or two ways. I think Kevin Fiala is an upgrade over certain players we have on this team.
He is.
He definitely is. So, I'll table that subject to go to number B or to go to B, the amount, right? If he says 7.9, let's just round it to $8 million is too much to spend on a forward. We're not willing to do that. I don't know what type of top six caliber forward you're expecting to get for less than 7.9 or $8 million a year. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if we were, let's pretend we're waking up on Christmas morning and we're imagining a guy like Johnny Gaudreau, or who had probably most won out of any of the wingers that are out there as an unrestricted free agent, or looking at a guy like, a Philip Forsberg. Those guys are all going to want more than $8 million a year. Do I think that he thinks that Kevin Fiala is not as good as the current players we have on our team? No. Maybe Lou Lamoriello feels very confident that he'll be able to sign one of these big fish free agents. Maybe that also has something to do with it. But, I kind of am interested, to hear your opinion on it, Grump.
Well, this will be our rosterbation issue. I'm certain
It's just, as Andy Francis said, this is our keeping up with the Kardashians segment of the show.
I'll say our rosterbation issue. Where we just, hey, everything's great. This is what we're going to do. None of it's going to happen. The closer we get.
Well, no, I'm not talking about rosterbation. I'm talking about, what do you think? Do you think it was more the price that he wanted, or do you think it was the fact that Lou did not like the player Kevin Fiala enough to make a move for him? Which one do you think he probably leaned more towards?
I think he's saving up his assets to trade for a left shot defenseman, which to me is the most important need for this team. It is, because regardless of what anyone here thinks, this team, as we're set up right now, defense first. Until you do a major overhaul with the guys we have on this team, we're going to have to play the same Barry Trotz style. I'm not saying you can't tweak it some, but we're an older, slower team. We're not an off to the races team. So what's most important? We have to get that top 4 left shot defenseman. I just think that's the most important thing, honestly. And maybe that's why he's keeping his powder dry, looking for that. Maybe that was his first move. And maybe Minnesota was moving a little bit too fast for him when he decided, you know what, we need to make sure that we get that defenseman first, and then with a trade, and then perhaps, we'll try to dip our toe into free agency. The more I think about it, we're not going to get Forsberg. He's going to cost too much money. We're not going to get Gaudreau because that's who I want them to get. So maybe we'll say Burkowski. I don't even think we're going to get Giroux. I think we're probably going to get maybe a Burkowski. That'll be our big push. We'll overpay for him, and he'll bust out compared to what we pay for. He's not a first-line talent. Not in my opinion, he's not. He's more of a second line guy. And, we tend to and here's the thing. He's probably not coming here either. You know what? The more I think about it, we're going to do nothing. Josh Bailey, get ready to get your 1,000 games, 10,000 games played, whatever the hell it is. I swear, the closer we get, whenever I see teams make moves, I'm like, well, you know what? We're not going to do anything.
That was about to be my next question. When does it start becoming a time period? Yeah, I'm kind of interested how the room feels, how Islander fans feel. You know how Grumpy feels, obviously, right? He didn't want Kevin Fiala. But I'm interested to see how the room feel, how Islander fans feel. Now that a guy like Kevin Fiala, who seemed to be a potential trade candidate for the Islanders, is now off the board, are you starting to sweat a little bit? Are you starting to have some feeling of deja vu where you think to yourself, shit, haven't we seen this again? Where every single offseason it seems like we come up with a litany of items that they could do or moves they could make to improve the team. And at the end of the damn day, we're stuck here with, with our hands empty. When does it start kicking in where you say, oh shit, yeah, we're not going to address the need for another forward. We're not going to address the need for a top six forward. Because I'll tell you one thing, after watching the Stanley Cup Finals, all 6 of those games, we are not in the same freaking planet or solar system of Colorado or a banged up and injured Tampa Bay. We're not in the same solar system, guys.
Nope.
We have got a long way to go to be able to play that style, to be able to compete with a style like that. It's not like we would ever play run and gun against Colorado. We would obviously try to dictate our style to them, but we're very far away. I'm sorry, Grump.
Yeah, we don't match up with Colorado at all. Tampa was banged up. Too much speed, too much athleticism from Colorado. We're not even on the same planet as a lot of the teams that were competing for the Stanley Cup this year. We're not. We're a 1990s team playing in the 2020 NHL. Those are just facts right now. We are eventually going to have to transition away from that. And I think you're going to see that transition in the next 2 or 3 years. They wanted one more kick of the can, supposedly, with this team. I don't know why. If you can't see the writing on the wall, I can't help you. But I have to say once again that the Islanders had never signed a big-name free agent ever in their history. Andrew Ladd, who was a knee-jerk overpay for losing Okposo and Franz Nielsen. That was the one guy they got. But, I mean, he was kind of cashed at that point with all the injuries that he had. We've never signed a big-name free agent. I just don't know how much that's going to change.
I want to ask you the question because I kind of went on for a while. Now, when do you think Islander fans start to get that pit in their stomach where they start saying, oh, shit, maybe we're not going to do enough. Maybe we're not going to do anything, or maybe we're not going to do enough. When does that realization, if it does happen, when does that start to set in, Grumpy? Because right now, I know there are some fans who are out, maybe not a lot, maybe a small portion, that are out there saying, oh, that's a guy I really wanted. Maybe got paid a little more than I would have liked to pay him, but that was a guy we really wanted out there. Now we're looking for plan, option B, C, and D in their opinion. When do you think the fans start saying, oh God, we're in trouble?
Free agency day. If we don't make a move in the first hour, that's going to tell you something. Because the big names go in the first hour, right? The big guy, they're not around. Certainly not by the end of day one. I mean, maybe 2 hours in, all the big names are gone. And this is actually a pretty good year for free agents. I just think, I mean, you're hearing Gaudreau, Philadelphia or Jersey. I'm going to tell you what, I'm looking at him at Pittsburgh. They say that Malkin is far apart on the deal, and they're thinking he might not be back with Pittsburgh. Well, wouldn't that be Johnny Gaudreau be a nice replacement for him? I'm just saying, Pittsburgh is not afraid to make moves and trying to win every year. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they win, sometimes they don't, but they're not afraid to make a move to win. Sometimes I feel we're afraid. We're just a little timid. We don't want to really take a chance. Let's just stay status quo, maybe qualify for the playoffs. You got to remember, this is a team that didn't make the playoffs, for eons, right? So now, as long as you make the playoffs, the majority of the fan base is happy. Not me, but a lot of the fan base is just happy. Oh, we made Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Big deal. It's not winning a Stanley Cup.
Mm.
And like I said, we're further away now than we were 6 months ago.
I understand that, Grump. I look at this because and to get back to the point too, I just can't help this feeling. But you're going to see more individuals traded, more individuals moved, and I feel like we're going to be sitting on our hands. I do think you're right. The trade we're going to make probably is for a left-handed defenseman, and I'm going to venture out and say it's probably not the one we all would like. just knowing how things go in the past, right? Everything is kept quiet, everything is kept close to the chest. That's just how Lou Lamoriello is. That being said, I still think, as I've said in March, we're trading away draft picks this year and maybe next year to acquire players. I firmly believe that. Is that the first? Is that the second? I don't know. We are trading away draft picks for players today. I can promise you that. That is signed, sealed, and delivered. Stamp that.
See, that's a mistake. In my opinion, that's a mistake. You cannot, we're not close enough to winning a Stanley Cup. I don't care who we get.
We've got William Dufour, Grumpy. He's the next coming of Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Hull.
Well, it's funny because I know the Memorial Cup final is on today, and I didn't realize till the third period, but I am DVRing it, so I'll get a chance to watch. I'm interested. All I care is can he skate? That's all I really care about. Can he skate?
The answer is he is not a very skilled skater.
If you can't skate, I'm sorry, you're not going to make it. Not in today's NHL, you're not. There are a few players who get away with it, but vast majority, this is skating man's game now. It just is. Like I said, it's not 1990. It's not Dave Anderchuk and Anders Lee in front of the net. I mean, you got to be able to move. And like I said, I haven't seen him skate. That's always my question. Can he skate? Yeah, he looks good as a 20-year-old playing against, 17, 18-year-olds. He looks good. I mean, he can shoot the puck, but can he skate? That's always been my thing with him.
Phil messaged me. He said, "Why does Grumpy like Wally?" He said he can't skate either. Wallstrom skates better than William Dufour. Okay, we're talking complete different levels.
You can have a couple of those guys on your team. Wallstrom can really shoot the puck. That's his. But you can't have 100 guys like Oliver Wallstrom on the team. Can't do it. You can have one or two, but you can't have 100. We have more than enough. More than that many. Too many guys like that on our team, honestly.
Yeah, with William Dufour, here's the thing. I'd be willing to listen on offers on a guy like that. If he had any value, I wouldn't be opposed to moving him, right? It's not, I know everybody's going to say this goes completely against the youth movement that you guys support. The skating is the big thing. The skating is a big thing. And Phil said Oliver Wallstrom. Oliver Wallstrom is 2 years older than him. William Dufour, 2 years younger, should be the fastest skater out there in juniors. Because guess what? The skaters are faster at the AHL and even faster in the NHL. So if you're an average skater in juniors, you're not going to be an average skater in the AHL and then be an average skater in the NHL. You're going to be below average in the AHL and freaking borderline cement skates in the NHL.
Isn't Wallstrom 21?
He just turned 22.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. William Dufour is 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, what you want to say, maybe they're a year and a half apart. One's skating at an NHL level, not a great skater, but one's able to keep up at an NHL level, and one is an average skater at a junior level. Canadian juniors is a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I worry about. If he has value, and people say he put up a whole bunch of points, he's doing great. He's doing great in the Memorial Cup.
It's the Memorial Cup.
Exactly. Keep him. Hey, man, sometimes, production in Memorial Cup might bump your draft stock or might bump your stock as a prospect a little bit. That's fine.
I'm not saying trade him, but if he's the piece to getting a deal done, I'm fine with that. Why? Because he's never played in the pros. And it's not like he was a first-round draft pick. He was, a fifth-rounder? And I liked it when they picked him. I liked the skill set. Okay, he's a kid who could shoot. He's got raw talent. Those are the type of picks they need to be making in lesser rounds. But if you could get named defensemen A, B, and C for maybe a Beauvillier and, a William Dufour, then that fifth-round pick has served its purpose, if that's what it takes to put you over the top. Not many fifth-round picks make the NHL. But if he can be a viable trade chip, if he can't make the team, I mean, like I said, you got to give to get. You just have to. And, if they're hell-bent again on moving Beauvillier, and that's the type of player that other teams want. Why? Because of his age. And he still has upside. Nobody wants Josh Bailey. Nobody wants Anders Lee. Nobody wants Kyle Palmieri. And this is all regardless of no trade clauses or whatever. They're guys on the wrong side of 30 who make a lot of money. Teams aren't looking for that. They want younger players who can possibly grow with a younger team. I mean, I understand it. The only team that likes to trade for those old veterans are us. What's it gotten us so far? Nothing. We've never won anything.
Yeah.
A couple of playoff series. Woo!
Yeah. I mean, the wake-up call should have been hopefully everybody watching the Avalanche against Tampa. That's right. That was the NHL's dream series, I believe, because those were the two best teams in the NHL, right? You could say maybe Tampa wasn't all the way healthy with Braden Point playing on a torn quad, right? You're not going to be able to play great hockey if you're playing on a torn quad. It's going to be tough to extend your strides and to skate with any sort of pizzazz and oomph.
Totally impressed by Tampa Bay. They have the heart of a champion. Colorado was way better than Tampa Bay at this point in time. Too many injuries for Tampa Bay. Braden Point was a huge loss for them. It was just Colorado's time, right? Kudos. Best team won. And like I said before, if you're a Tampa fan, you know what? No harm in losing to Colorado. Best team won. Just like when we lost to Tampa Bay. It didn't bother me when we lost to Tampa Bay. They were the better team. You just don't want to get beat by teams that are worse than you. Those are the ones that really stick in your craw. But, I mean, if you lose to a team that's vastly superior, you know what? You just got to tip your cap to them. I mean, that's what it was this year. Watch out for Toronto next year. Watch out for Toronto. I'm just going to tell you that. Watch out for Toronto next year. Toronto's not going to blow it up. They will not blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
They see how close they were to beating Tampa this year. I am almost thinking that they're maybe my favorite to go to the Stanley Cup Finals next year.
Shit, man. Rome wasn't built in a day, Grumpy. To have it, let's start with them winning a freaking playoff series before you say they're my. They're now you sound like a member of the Toronto media.
I said they could be. I said they could be.
But still, even to espouse that, Grumpy, they haven't won a playoff series in what 20 years?
Okay, if they knew how to win, and I think you learn that by going through tough series, not losing to Montreal in the first round. That was a tough series for them against Tampa Bay. And you learn by losing tough series like that. Don't tell me if they hadn't have beaten Tampa Bay, they wouldn't have been in the finals this year. They absolutely would have beaten Florida, and they would have steamrolled the Rangers. And I'm not saying that they would have beaten Colorado, but I'll tell you what, barring injury, they would have stayed with them. They really would have. Toronto's defensive system was much better this year. I said it all year long. They looked different than in previous years. They looked more buttoned up on the back end. They just didn't know how to win at the end. You learn by losing. They're young. They're super talented and young. And those are the teams that tend to do well. I tell you what, it'll be miserable around here if Toronto wins, though. Miserable.
Really?
Yeah, everyone hates Toronto unless you're a Toronto fan. They're like the Dallas Cowboys of Canada. You love them or you hate them.
Fair enough, Crump. I don't know, right? The legacy was obviously right. I always mentioned beforehand that if Tampa won 3 cups in a row in the Cap era, it'd be more. I think it would be more. It would tougher to accomplish or more special than the Islanders 4 cups pre-Cap era. We don't have to worry about that anymore, Grumpy, because
what if they win 3 out of 4? And get to the Stanley Cup Finals the other time.
Okay, I'd still would go. That's more impressive for Tampa.
Like I said, they were seriously banged up, really banged up.
Do you really think they could make it back to the finals again next year, Tampa Bay Lightning?
Depends.
It's hard not to think they're going to take a step back.
Depends on what they do in the offseason.
McDonough sucks so bad. I just can't see how he would even come back to rectify. He looked so bad in the finals, man. He looked awful.
They still got the goalie. They still got supreme offensive talent. They got the rock on defense. Let me tell you something. And they know how to win.
They traded away the next 17,000 years of first-round picks for Ryan Hagel Bagel.
I think they have a first-round pick this year.
Was that?
I think they have a first-rounder this year.
Oh, I know that. What did they give up? First plus some for Ryan Hagel, which is
I don't know. I read maybe I was looking at a different team. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the big move, obviously, that's happened today. I'm not necessarily worrying. I will be interested to see, what we are looking to do. I still firmly believe we will be trading away draft capital, just as I said, for a pick. Right, the NHL draft is this next Thursday, Grump.
Yes, week from tomorrow.
I'm excited. I'm pumped. And this Saturday, we'll probably go over a little more in depth who we're looking at player wise, and that will be Wednesday. We'll just all be draft preparation day. And as we're covering the draft live on Thursday evening, in all likelihood, the Islanders are probably going to trade from the pick because we're super prepared and we've done so much homework and we're so ready to talk about any single player that could go in that slot that they're going to trade the pick away. You watch them just to spite us.
I hope they don't trade the pick. Let me just put it to you that way. You're just hurting yourself in the long run. You want to move some players, fine. Cannot trade draft picks. Cannot trade draft picks anymore. Cannot do it.
Look at the team. Let's just take a look really quickly at Tampa and at Colorado. Look at the star players. Look at the stud players on that Tampa Bay team. Every single one of them pretty much were drafted by the Lightning.
You realize
drafted by the Lightning, Kucherov drafted by the Lightning, Stamkos drafted by the Lightning, Vasilevsky drafted by the Lightning. You're looking at Braden Point drafted by the Lightning. All big name guys, all drafted by the Lightning. Maybe Sergachev was the one who was traded for and acquired via trade. Andre Palat drafted by the Lightning. Same thing with Colorado. Look at Colorado's team. Beside Nichushkin, I mean, pretty much every single one of those Colorado members were all drafted by the Colorado Avalanche.
And for Nichushkin, they wound up trading when he was at low value. They traded for him, and they took a flyer on him. There's nothing wrong with doing trades like that. I said that all the time. Take a chance on a guy who was talented and is maybe a little bit down on his luck. You're not going to have to give up a whole lot, and maybe you catch lightning in a bottle. Again, we're not close enough. I could see why Tampa was trading first-round picks. Why? Because they were in the middle of winning Stanley Cups. I understand that. Pittsburgh was doing it for years. Why? Because they were in the middle of winning Stanley Cups back-to-backs. Washington. Those are teams that are true contenders. We've never been a true contender. Never been a true contender. I don't care what people say. Never been a true contender. Never won a division title. Never won a conference. Never won a cup. Got to win something to be considered a contender.
I want to show you, Grumpy, kind of changing gears a little bit. I want to show you. We have a few submissions. Now, this has happened since the last time we've done like a true Islanders podcast. We got a few people wearing the merchandise, Grump, and they sent us, they went ahead and put up some pictures of it, Grumpy. Now, do you recognize this man right here, Michael M? Look at him, Grump. Look at him and his Barry and the Vets shirt.
I hate the fact that shirt's out of style.
Damn it. It was, man. That was honestly one of my favorite shirts. It still is.
That's my favorite shirt. I like that one best.
Oh man, it's great.
I always like that one.
Look at the bear. And look at Michael. Look at Mike. Looking like he's mean mugging, Grumpy. You better not walk across him or look at him wrong way on the sidewalk and slap you upside the head, Grump. Especially with a shirt like that on, with that mean armadillo, Grump. You better watch out.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. So, I'm nothing but friendly to people, not like you. Mean and abusive.
Good gracious. Now, this is where I need to start seeing a lot more of our shirts, Grumpy. Look at this. We got here Brandon Gaines. He's getting the pump on with the Maddie and the Jag shirt, Grumpy.
There you go. I know that shirt's very popular in the gym.
Got a lot of questions. I'm sure people go up and ask him, like, what's that shirt? It's that freaking shirt. Maddie and the Jags, baby.
It's so cool.
Man, look at him. Brandon Gaines can't keep the ladies away from him. Can't keep the ladies away from him with a shirt like that on at the gym, Grump.
Well, I don't see any ladies around him, so I don't know.
This is the 1 second he could get a moment away from him.
Okay.
I need to get a picture.
Okay.
So,
I understand.
Yeah, Grumpy. Come on, Grump. But yes, thanks for sending those in, guys. I love being able to show when you're wearing the merchandise. You can find the merchandise and a link in the description below on the Etsy shop. You can find all the cool things. You can find one of these, a Grumpy's Groupie shirt here. On the back, it's got the little Grumpy van on it. So, yeah, not worried. That was a target that I feel like a lot of fans were hoping, and they thought I think there was a lot of question mark as to what Kevin Fiala would be paid. Obviously, right, he was paid. He played well this year, and he was paid for it. It represented that, and I think he'll fit in well for the Kings. Right, that's a team that the Kings they're building. That you talk about a rebuild done right. When you hit on your picks like that, your rebuilds work.
Yeah, see, that's a good move for them. They are just loaded with prospects. And here's the thing, he's a younger veteran, right? So he's going to slot in on their first line. I don't know how he'll produce, but he'll certainly slot in on their first line to start. And that's good for them. I mean, here, I don't know. We play a different style. I mean, certainly the defensive style is not what he's used to playing in Minnesota. We'll see. I'm just glad we don't have I would not. I told you right away. I said, I don't want to trade assets and then have to pay the guy too. And no. Not, I don't want to double pay for somebody like that. If it was, Crosby in his prime or Malkin. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Not Fiala. I'm sorry. I didn't even know who the hell he was till the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? It's like you hear about players around the league. I never heard Kevin Fiala. Who the hell is that? Some little pissant. He's the pissant. That's what he is.
Grumpy. It's just because you're not very knowledgeable, Grumpy.
Here's the thing. I got too many nicknames for players. I could not have another player whose name was Pissant on this team.
Well, let's start looking. We'll start looking at a few comments here too, Grumpy, because I think it kind of feeds into a lot of discussion we've got. Alon Avatal says here, no thanks. My top 3 forwards go after DeBrincat, Johnny Gaudreau, and Forsberg. Lou has to get one of those 3 players. Here's the thing. If we thought we didn't have enough we didn't have enough capital and assets to trade for a guy like possibly, Kevin Fiala, I could promise you we do not have enough for DeBrincat. And Johnny Gaudreau is going to want $11 million, maybe $11.5 million a year on the contract. If we thought that, hey, Kevin Fiala was an overpay, do you think our general manager is going to free up cap space to open up enough to pay a guy $11 million a year? He'd be the highest paid player on the Islanders, by like $4 million a year almost?
Yeah, but he's like almost an MVP caliber player every year. That's a guy you invest in. See, to me, Forsberg, no. He's not going to get – he's going to get more money than he deserves. Johnny Gaudreau is a guy who's been super productive for years and years. Forsberg is not. And I like Forsberg. Don't get me wrong. But do you think I want to pay $9 or $10 million for Forsberg? I don't. He's not a game changer. Johnny Gaudreau is a game changer. He's not coming here. It doesn't matter anyway. DeBrincat, you're right. You got to give up again. You're going to have to trade assets and then bring him in and give him a new contract, right?
You're not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening. What I think they should do is try their damnedest to sign Gaudreau and then make a trade for a left shot defenseman. Those are because here's the thing. Let's say you're able to move out of Bailey and a Beauvillier. That frees up $9 million. You can easily afford Gaudreau then. Easily afford Gaudreau.
So what people are worried about, because after saying, hey, the Islanders didn't offer on Kevin Fiala, people are worried. And I want to get your take on it, Grump, whether you think it's a possibility. People are worried the reason we didn't make an offer at Kevin Fiala is not because of hey, they didn't like his value. Maybe they didn't think he was going to bring enough value to the Islanders. Not because of B, he wanted too big of a contract. It's going to be instead because of C, they have another player they have interest in. And no, it's not an unrestricted free agent. They think said player could be Josh Anderson, Grumpy.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm buying that, right? I think that, right, all these rumors and speculation have come up because, hey, Matt Barzal and Josh Anderson are good pals. They're buddies. Anderson's not as good as Fiala. Anderson's not as good as Beauvillier. It's as simple as that. I don't get the if we're in or we make a trade for him, I don't get the infatuation with him. I don't get the reasoning and rationale by why we're so interested in trying to bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike Josh Anderson, but unless you get him on the cheap, I'm not trading first round draft picks for Josh Anderson. I'm just not doing that. I, I'm sorry.
Josh Anderson, listen to me. Josh Anderson's 28 years old.
Yeah.
Josh Anderson on a good team is a freaking bottom 6 player. Why are we still so infatuated with okay, Josh Anderson has never cracked more than 47 points in his entire NHL career. Does that scream top 6 forward to you? We should
Okay.
have no interest on bringing Josh Anderson to this team. None. None.
Well,
We do not need more bottom 6 forwards.
I think on this team he's not a bottom six forward. Not on
Okay.
this team, he's not.
Okay. He's okay. When he put up 47 points, he was playing 17 minutes a night on ice time in Columbus.
Okay, but let's say you get a Johnny Gaudreau, and then you put Josh Anderson to do the dirty work on the other side of that line with Barzell. To me, that works.
You just plan on not addressing the left defenseman spot?
I'm just saying, if you move Beauvillier and Bailey for a left shot defenseman, you can make that work. That means $21 million in cash. You have the money to do that. You have the money. Can you make the pieces fit together? I can, but can Lou do it? I don't know.
Those mathematical equations are tough, Grump. They're very tough. Here's the thing. I have very little interest in Josh Anderson. We do not need more bottom 6 players. I don't care if he would project maybe to be a top 6 player for us. He's a guy who's never cracked more than 47 points in a season. I'm not willing to take a gamble on a guy who's now 28 years old and say, we think, even though you've played top 6 roles in the past, I think you're going to be able to elevate your game with Matt Barzal, even though you didn't produce with Matt Barzal in the tournament this summer, even though you never produced any point production. We think that you're going to work just as right as rain with Matt Barzal. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. I've got no interest in Josh Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, who even knows if it's true? Everyone's just kind of throwing shit up against the wall now and see what sticks. Nobody knows. No one knows.
That's correct. Shooters Buck Hockey says Lou fell asleep at the wheel again. Guaranteed we have the same roster just with Lambert as coach. Not gonna get us into the playoffs.
I think we will get a defenseman. And maybe some tier 2 forward.
Ugh.
Maybe. Here's what I'm thinking about. Best case scenario: a Burakovsky for a forward and a Chikrin for defense. And oh boy, that's going to set us apart. It's not. It's not enough. I don't even think we're going to have a shot at Giroux because I was excited. I was talking with Phil's Facts on the last night of the Stanley Cup, and I was intrigued by Giroux, particularly playing on the second line. But it's just not going to happen. In the world of rosterbation, yes, Giroux is on this team and so is Gaudreau. Let's pleasure ourselves to that, people. But it's not going to happen. Like I said, we've never had an unrestricted free agent sign here, ever. A top level unrestricted free agent. In how many years have they had unrestricted free agency? Never had one sign here. You think we're going to sign 2? No.
We can dream, can't we? But that's what Nick D was saying. Teaching the curve. How you doing tonight? I'm glad Fiala's off the market. And I like what Grump and Phil were talking about with Claude Giroux. Grumpy, I know you were talking about that on the show when we covered the Tampa against Colorado in Game 6.
Yeah, and I got to give props to Phil. I wasn't even thinking about Giroux as an option on the second line. I wasn't even thinking there. That's a good fit. But once again, who's going to play on your first line? Because if you don't get Gaudreau, the pissant, I know Phil had the pissant coming. That didn't work out. So I don't even know if he had a plan B. But, for me, the most important thing, honestly, is the left shot defenseman. That's number one. A puck-moving, left-handed defenseman. That's number one on my watch list. That's the number one thing we need. Veteran who can play with, I say, with Pulak, put Dobson with Pelech. I've been saying that forever. Then you put Salo with Mayfield as your bottom pairing. The defense is set. Your goaltending is rock solid. I mean, let's say you want to free up more cap space. You can move Varlamov too. Not every team he's only got 16 teams on his no trade list. So you can move him somewhere else. That could free up some more cap space. That's a whole nother story. But then your defense is set, your goaltending is set. The forward group needs a lot of work. It does. That's why I was saying free agency for forwards, where it's just costing you money, not where you have to give up more assets. You're going to have to move forwards to add forwards. We have 14 guys who are under contract next year. They're not all going to sit on the bench. You can't bring in more guys and sit more of your forward group who's making way too much money. Can't do it. Got to offload some of that dead wood.
I want to go ahead and show you this. Phil told me to bring up there Toronto. Again, $6.4 million in cap space. They do have, they've got 4 forwards they have to bring back, as well as 2 defensemen, grumpy old man, and who's going to be in net for them. So, do you think a trade with Toronto is a viable possibility? Or, is Toronto going to go ahead and maybe offload somebody else? I mean, think about it. When everybody thought Toronto was dead to rights, what was it, a few years ago, when they had Patrick Marleau, they were able to trade Patrick Marleau away with a first-round pick, or was it a second-round pick? I don't even remember.
Cecil Brown. They moved a bunch of guys to Ottawa. And here's the thing. I said we should, on day one, throw a big offer sheet at Mitch Marner. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I said on day one, throw a big offer sheet so they only had however many days it is to match before they could make any other moves. You wait. They trade guys, and then they give Marner the contract extension. You have to be proactive. And I know Lamoriello does not like to do that, but in free agency, you can't wait and see how it shakes out, because then you're stuck picking up, the trash at the bottom, the Zach Parisis, the Zdeno Charas. Not what you need. You don't need third liners and bottom pairing defensemen. That's not what this team needs.
They traded Patrick Marleau to the freaking Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes were able to acquire a first-round pick for Marleau in a 7th.
I mean, but okay, let's say you want to make a trade with Toronto. Great. Who are they going to want? I'm going to tell you who they're going to want, or who they should want. Scott Mayfield. And now you're really on shaky ground with your defense core if you trade him.
Exactly. I mean,
that helps them. I mean, let's say we get Nylander back in return, and we send them Beauvillier and Mayfield. That's a deal I could see them actually considering.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see them actually consider that. It saves them a little bit of money, not a whole lot, maybe $1 million, 1.5, but it makes their defense better. You add a real solid defenseman back there. And Anthony Beauvillier, he can play up and down the line, and he can skate, and he plays defense. He plays a two-way game. That's a deal. If I was Toronto, I would seriously consider. I mean, but like I said, Toronto's not far off from contending for a
Here's the thing. Scott Mayfield has a lot of value. He does. He would have had a lot of value traded last year at the deadline. But hey, I want to show this to you, Grumpy, before I forget. So, it's funny, right? The Colorado Avalanche win the Cup. People had brought up on the last stream, is it not funny that in the same draft that we got John Tavares was the same draft where Tampa was the second worst team in the league. They selected Victor Hedman that year, and Colorado was the third worst team in the league, and they drafted Matt Duchene that year. And both of those teams are at the absolute pinnacle, and we're the team that's still kind of
think about
not there.
5 years ago, Colorado was in the cellar. 5 years ago. I mean, and then look at who they've got in the last couple of years. Why? Because they traded veterans to get more draft picks. They picked up Kerfoot, Byram. I mean, those are young players who are on entry-level deals, who are contributors for that team already. That's how you do it. Sometimes you have to say
good too. I mean, they've hit on a lot of their picks. You got to hit on your picks in order to be successful in this league.
You can't be drafting Simon Holmstrom's and Alexander Lundkrantz's as your top picks. You got to go for max skill. Because if you have talent, you can do a lot of things. Let's say even if he doesn't fit your system, if he doesn't adjust, you move him because he's got value.
Yeah.
You pick a guy who's, you know what? He's a bottom 6 forward. He's going to contribute for who cares? He's not going to make your team better.
I always love this one. Now this is from Ray Whitney, Grumpy, and they're talking about Devontae. So I'm sure, as you can bet, it's very glowing about Lou Lamoriello.
I look at when you talked about Sakic and you brought up the moves. Devon Taves,
oh my goodness,
he took Lou Lamoriello to the woodshed on that one. Thanks, Lou. Take my second rounders and give me this friggin' top 10 defenseman in the league that I could pair with the best defenseman in the world. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because, of course, Colorado wins the Cup when we have their second round pick as well this year. So it's essentially like a third round pick. It's a last pick in the second round.
And here's going to
be a third round pick.
Ray Whitney can say that now. We were that night, that trade was made. We did a podcast and said that trade's going to be a disaster. And we were right. We are the curve here.
Alexander says, good riddance. I'm so glad we didn't trade for him. Good riddance.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what's up, Alexander? Matthew S. said, thank God the Islanders' history is preserved with the Tampa Bay Lightning loses. D-Cut says, fire Lou, hire Barry as general manager and coach, and make Lane Lambert the assistant.
I guess, here's the thing. A couple of teams offered Barry. He didn't like what they saw. Supposedly he wanted to be GM and coach. He overplayed his hand. Now he's sitting on his ass. Well, here's the thing. He's still collecting for next year. So he didn't need to work this year. He's still getting paid by the Islanders. He'll be back. I just don't think anyone's going to want him as GM. Would you want him as GM? I know I wouldn't. Absolutely, I would never want it. If you want to be a GM, you're out of my search.
Yeah. And I guess we haven't addressed it on this podcast. It's been a while because we were talking just Tampa and we were talking Tampa and Colorado when that was happening. I firmly believe there's nothing you could say to convince me otherwise. It's not, and this came from Barry, right? He said, you want to take some time to spend with his family. That's why he wasn't doing this. Want to take care of some family issues or want to be closer to family. Maybe he wants to spend time with family. That is not the primary reason why he's not coaching. Okay, you don't interview for 4 or 5 different head coaching positions unless you're interested in being a fucking head coach. It's that simple. How many openings were there of head coaches this offseason? 10, 15 head coaching positions. You don't interview with a third of them, 33% of the openings and the vacancies, unless you're seriously considering possibly coaching or coaching. It's that simple. I think it's as clear and cut and dry as possible where he wanted to be or have a role to where he could step in to be the general manager. He's going to be the head coach to start, and maybe then after a year or so, he'll be the general manager, or maybe he would immediately be indoctrinated with the general manager and the head coaching positions. He was going to be gifted that spot or earned that spot, however you want to phrase it, and teams weren't willing to give that to him.
Okay. That was totally disingenuous. Well, he wants to spend time with family. So was he going to resign from the Islanders if he wasn't fired? The answer is no. And you're 100% right. If he wanted to spend time, he wouldn't even have interviewed for those jobs. Maybe the only job he would have interviewed would have been for Winnipeg. Maybe.
He wouldn't have interviewed in Dallas, wouldn't have interviewed in Philadelphia, wouldn't have interviewed in Las Vegas, wouldn't have interviewed all over the place.
And Winnipeg.
It was all over the place.
And he turned them down. I think he just wants total control. You know what? No freaking way. I would never give him a GM ship. No way. I mean, what has he ever done? He would never even use a draft pick. We don't need any of those.
Paul W. said, I'm with Grump. Top line scorer, left-handed defenseman.
The defenseman has to come first. I'd love to have Nylander. I would love him.
Rich A. said, that dude got Nylander money. William Nylander money, Grump.
Yeah, and he's no William Nylander. He just is.
When did William Nylander sign that contract?
2 years ago?
He only signed a 4-year contract?
No, I think he signed a 6-year deal.
I think he's only got 2 years left on that deal.
I think he's got 3 years left on that deal.
Oh, he does? Let me see. My mistake if I'm getting this wrong. I apologize. He's got 2 years left now. He signed this deal in 2018-19.
Okay, so how many? So what was it, a 5-year deal?
1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 6-year deal, but he's already been through 4 of those years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm still rolling. I would still roll.
He signed that contract at $6.9 million in 2018 or in the 2017 season, but the 2017-18 season. So
and he's going to cash in his 28-year-old age.
I'm telling you, he's gonna make a freaking boatload. He's gonna be another one of those guys that are in 8-digit territory.
Well, you know what? That's like I said, if that's a guy that we're trading for, no problem moving other guys. I'd have no problem. Okay, I don't want to say I give up the first round draft pick because Toronto's gonna want some talent. They're not just giving him away. Scott Mayfield is a good fit, and I think Beauvillier too. I'd offer that deal. If I'm Lou Lamoriello, I'd make that offer. That gives us a first line wing. Yes, we lose on the back end defensively, but it's bottom 6 minutes, right? And Beauvillier, okay, you gotta get rid of somebody. Then you still have some pieces to maybe take a run at Chikrin or somebody else, a left shot defenseman. Then I could see, okay, because we're not just improving this year, we're improving going forward as well. And we're transitioning away from the grinded out style to a more 2022 NHL where skating is most and puck moving is most important. And
Okay.
that's what we're going to need to make that transition away. Might as well start now.
BK Italian kid there says, I see Lou is going after there, maybe Forsberg and Chikrin. Bailey, Beauvillier, Salo are subtractions from this team.
Who would rather have,
Subtractions from this team.
who would rather have Forsberg or Nylander? I'm taking Nylander.
You're not going to have Scott Mayfield then. This team is all in to win now. This is the only reason why I think they're not moving away a guy like Scott Mayfield unless it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for me, I'm willing to move Scott Mayfield because we're not going to win. Even with those moves, we're still not winning a Stanley Cup. Just not. And to me, Forsberg's down on my list of guys I want.
Fandy answers says, I don't even know who I am at this point anymore. I don't know who you are either, Fandy. Brandy Gaines there saying here, I thought Fiala would have been a fantastic fit here. Seems to me Fiala's ideal destination played a bigger factor. More shocked you didn't go to Jersey or Ottawa with their cap space. I assume it had to do with he just thought the organizations were much further behind in the rebuild process than the Kings. That's maybe the only reason.
Yeah, but the Kings have cap space too. I mean, the Kings aren't broke.
Well, no, okay, they had even more cap space. I know you're looking it up now, but I know the Devils in Ottawa had even more cap space, Grump.
Okay, but the Kings still have like almost $12 million in cap space even after signing that deal.
Okay, the Devils and like Ottawa have what, like 20 plus?
Well, okay, but they had about 20 million too going in before making that deal. I mean, the Kings had a boatload of cap space. Why would you not want to go to the Kings as opposed to a miserable Devils team and an equally miserable Ottawa? The Kings are on the cusp of being a really good team.
I think here's the thing. I think the Kings and the Devils are both the Kings are on the cusp. I think the Devils are getting ready for the cusp. I think Ottawa still has a way to go.
I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer going to the Kings.
Okay. Yeah. D-Cut says, Lou doesn't make any moves. That's the problem.
True.
It's a fireable offense, right? This, and they won't fire him. But if you don't make the moves that are necessary to improve this team, or you stay status quo and stuff like that, you've got to be fired.
Here's the thing. Hey, we bash Barry Trotz for not playing young guys. Guess what? Barry Trotz is not an excuse anymore. Everything now is on Lou Lamoriello. If Lane Lambert falls on his face, that's on Lou Lamoriello. If no new players are required, we don't get younger, or if we don't make the playoffs, that's on Lou Lamoriello. He's the last guy. He is the one that takes the blame for everything here on out. No one else. No one else. Mm-hmm. Everything has his fingerprints on it from here on out. Before, I could say, yes, he was working with Barry, like trading Taves. I think Barry had a lot to do with that, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Particularly after gushing about Nick Leddy. And it was a problem for us, and it wound up being a problem for the Islanders too. But here's the thing. He doesn't have that anymore. You think he's going to go to Lane Lambert and say, hey, Lane, what do we need to make this team better? Lane Lambert
has zero input now.
He's got zero cachet. As a rookie coach, he's got zero cachet. I like Lane Lambert, but he's not going to be involved in any personnel decisions. And maybe that's the way Lou likes it, honestly. Maybe he likes it where it's just, you know what? I'm the dictator here. I make the moves, and no one else can, no input.
Gotcha.
No soup for you.
Gotcha. We're going to get to our ad read here. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. The action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer, right? There are tons of different ways to bet on all your favorite sports. You can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. Ooh, man, the heat in the summer. Yikes. Plus, right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in. You can throw down on a major action for baseball, golf, MMA, and more. Plus, with same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, over-unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, and you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes in the description for additional details.
Nice job, DJ.
Wow. Fair enough. Mr. Janspan says here, DeFore with a beautiful pass from behind the net and a power play goal. St. John Sea Dogs up 5-2 over the Hamilton Bulldogs.
Like I said, when I watched that, and it's kicking me. I was looking to see if there was any replays tonight. I didn't see any. Maybe I'll scroll further on and I'll see if, maybe tomorrow they have a replay or something like that. Because I don't, like I said, I'm just going to look at him exclusively. Can he skate? That, to me, that's the biggest thing. Can he skate? He should be a plus skater right now in juniors. At his age, he should be a plus skater.
He should be one of the better skaters in juniors. Yeah. He's 20 years old. 20 years old. He is, and again, whatever. He's playing against 17, 18, 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. He is at the top of the group. He should be one of the better skaters out there. You should say, wow, that guy's moving pretty quick. You remember with Griffin Reinhart? Oh no, he's just so measured. He's so measured with his movement. He doesn't waste strides. He's this, he's that. Griffin Reinhart just couldn't fucking skate.
He looked like I remember I thought he looked like he was skating in sand.
He was still an okay skater at that level, but he wasn't good enough. And he wasn't not good enough for the AHL or anywhere else. He plays in Europe.
He was an average, marginally average skater in juniors. Marginally average. I thought he was below average. He can't skate. You got to be able to skate. In today's NHL in particular, it's not like the olden days where you had a bunch of behemoths like Bob Daly and Moose Dupont on the back line. No, you got to be able to get the puck and move it. That's the modern NHL. That's what the league wants. They want Colorado. They want Toronto. They want Florida. They want the Rangers. They want Carolina. They want Edmonton. Teams that can skate. Why? Because it's more entertaining. They're in the entertainment business. They want more eyeballs on TV sets so they can raise ad revenues. How do you do that? Scoring more goals, being more sensational out there. Look at the great plays. They don't want games that are slogs. They don't want that. Skate. It's the most important skill you can have. Be able to skate. I'm not saying you don't have to be able to shoot or have hockey sense or anything like that, but skating makes up for a lot of, it can cover up for mistakes. We'll see.
Yeah. Then Tommy says, what's up? How are you guys doing tonight? TJ, grumpy old man. What's up, Coach Tommy B? And he says, LA gave up a solid return for Fiala at basically $8 million a year, 7 years. It was expensive both ways. I don't know.
I didn't think what they paid to get him was that big. He wasn't a top prospect for them. The defenseman was not a top prospect for them. And it was a first-round pick.
They have plenty of better defensive prospects. Yeah.
And it was a first-round pick that was number 18, number 19, whatever the heck it was.
Also, it's not that big on Fiala. I like him, but to pay him a lot and to give up a first and a top prospect is too much in my opinion. See, I don't think
he's a top prospect.
Yeah, Brock Faber's not a top prospect. Helge Grantz is probably a prospect they like more. Brant Clark, the 8th overall pick in that last year's draft. Dude, they've got a lot of young defensemen too.
He's
what is he like? He's like 20 something years old, young 20s. He's playing up at the NHL level. I don't think they minded that too much.
Yeah, he's not a top prospect for them. He's not. That's why I'm saying teams like your Ottawas, like your Detroits, like your Kings, they're loaded with young prospects. Why? Because they say, you know what? We're going to rebuild. I mean, look at the Rangers. If the Rangers wanted to get a big name guy, they could. They could move a couple of their young kids on their roster and get a star on that team.
They do have to worry about the cap though.
I'm just saying you can make that work. You can make that work.
There's ways
around it. I mean, I'm just saying that when you rebuild and you have a bunch of young players in your pipeline who can play, you can do anything. You can expedite your rebuild quicker by moving a couple of them and getting some stars, or you can just, take a little bit longer and just have everybody come up together and have salary cap and go after free agents. I mean, what do the Islanders have? Nothing. The only players that anyone wants on our team are Oliver Wahlstrom and Anthony Beauvillier. And I'll just mention those two because whoever else they want are not on the market. Your Noah Dobsons, your Pellics and Pulaks, your Sorokins.
Matthew S. They're saying it was an overpay for a guy who had one solid, healthy year. If he had, say, 2 years of that production, I might offer. Okay, fair enough.
What about a 3-year deal for Giroux, right? Who would you rather have, Giroux for 3 years, even at his age, or the pissant for 7?
Okay. Okay, you don't like the pissant. He's younger. And here's the thing. Let's say he produces or has production at near a point a game. Some years less, some years there, maybe some years slightly above, but around a point a game for the next 5 or 6 years. Shit, Grump, as the cap continues to increase, an $8 million a year deal is not the end of the world.
Okay, but he's had a point a game 1 year his whole career.
Exactly.
That's not Giroux.
Okay, he's also 25 years old, right?
Okay,
How many 23-year-olds have more than a point a game? Very select few.
But he's 25. He's not 23. He's 25.
He's in the prime of his career, entering the prime of his career. Now at the prime of his career, he's a point a game player.
Nylander was a point a game player. He's not getting paid that money.
Nylander's contract expires when what? He's 26 years old.
No,
when he's 26, he will be paid 11 or 12 million dollars a year.
28. He's 26 now.
Okay. No. He signed the contract when he was 20.
He's 26 now. He's 26 years old now.
You really?
Yes.
I'll trust you. He's 26. You got it right there, Grump. I swore he was younger. But anyway, so with William Nylander, right? They gave him the contract earlier on. They gave him the contract when he was 22 instead of 25. But he's going to be earning $11+ million a year when that contract comes due.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's been productive every year and at a young age. This guy
signed a contract. He signed his contract at 6 point whatever after 1 year of production.
Okay, here's the thing. This guy was good for 2 months. Good for 2 months his whole career.
I'm not saying Kevin Fiala is William Nylander. It's the reason why William Nylander will be paid $5 million a year, possibly more.
And here's the thing. I predict
$1 million a year more than Kevin Fiala.
I predict he's not a point a game scorer at Los Angeles because he's going to be on the first line. He benefited for being on the second line and Kaprizov getting all the big defensive players against him.
Gotcha. Anyway, I'm not going to argue on something like that. We got comments to get through, Grumpy. Matthew S. also said, I'm not confident Lou will make the necessary moves to improve this team.
I hate to say I agree with Matthew. I'm not confident he can do it.
I just don't like hearing rumors that we're interested in Josh Anderson, even if they're complete bunk and bullshit. I just don't like hearing those rumors.
Who's putting those rumors out? Where are the rumors coming from?
Not the Islanders media. They're actually like Russo, I think. Like Michael Russo is putting out stuff like that they were interested in Josh Anderson. Okay. It's not like a fly by night site. They're actual legitimate reporters that are putting that information out there.
I don't know.
I just told you. Let me pull it up for you, Grumpy. Don't worry.
I mean, I think maybe they're just kind of, hey, he skated with Barzell at the Worlds. They played online. They went out to dinner together. Hey, he should be on the team. Maybe it's just something as simple as that. Remember, these guys have to get paid and put shit out there all the time. so they remain relevant. They just throw everything up against the wall, right? Fiala. We didn't even make, all right, oh, we're going to definitely be in on Fiala. Didn't even make an offer, supposedly. Who knows?
Oh, man. I have no idea. Maybe this is just one of those things that's sensationalized. I don't know. I can't tell you I was reading over everything. I do not read tweets the way I should. But I remember when we were on the show, we got a whole bunch of those people talking about Josh Anderson. I have to assume that, hey, anytime I'm seeing a lot of smoke, there has to be fire in some capacity. So maybe I need to vet more carefully. But I don't know. If somebody has a tweet where it linked Josh Anderson to the Islanders, send that to me. D-Cut saying here, Lou has been here over 4 years now, and his best unrestricted free agent forward is Zach Parise, and best unrestricted defenseman is Zdeno Chara.
Tells you all you need to know, right? 37-year-old Zach Parise and 44-year-old Zdeno Chara.
Well, here's the good thing, guys. You may have seen this. Zdeno Chara is waiting to September to see if he's going to be coming back. So don't worry. We could fill in our top 4 left-handed defenseman spot just to ask Big Z to come back. So that would be cheap. Let's get Big Z back. One more year. Big Z.
I can't even think that they would even consider that, honestly. I love Zdeno Chara. You know that. Big fan of his. Can't play anymore. He just gets by on guile now. He can't physically, just can't do it anymore. 45 years old. It's not a crime. But at some point, you got to cut the umbilical cord and say, no, you know what? I'd rather go with a young guy who has some upside, even if he makes mistakes, as opposed to that. I mean, we saw that last year. How did it work out? It didn't. How did it work out in Washington? It didn't. How did it work out in the end in Boston? It didn't. Every team that has him the last number of years knows he can't play anymore. It's not a crime. He's just, it's like Gretzky isn't playing anymore either. Trottier's not playing anymore either. Jean Bell, well, he's dead, so he's not playing. But I mean, there's a lot of guys who retired 10, 15, they can't play anymore. That's not a crime. Father Time's undefeated, unless you're TB12. Father Time is undefeated.
Oh, my God. I'm throw one of those in there. Rich A said, are we even serious here? Lou will trade our first-round pick in an attempt to get a top 4 defenseman. That's it. Take it to the bank.
The only guy I could see him going after and sacrificing a first-round pick is Chychrun. That's the only one. And here, he's younger. He's got 3 more years on his deal. I can see that if you're going to do it, because he's a puck-moving defenseman. Would have to play with Pulock, though. Could not pair him with Dobson. You're defeating the purpose putting him with Dobson. You got to break up Pulock and Pelech. And I don't think they've been that good anyway the last couple of years. You put Dobson with Pelech, Pulock with Chychrun. I could live with that as long as you give them a Bailey, somebody to get rid of some salary to also free up a roster spot from the forward group. I could see that, and I could live with it. I don't want them trading a first-round pick for a forward, though. There's too many out there in unrestricted free agency.
Got another comment here. Grumpy. Christopher Z said, who are we getting in the offseason? Time to make some moves. Probably just a left-handed defenseman and a guy who is not a quality winger that we will need. I think we will get a winger, right? I think we do make a move. I don't think it's going to be the quality that we want or would ideally want.
Maybe Nichushkin.
Jesus Christ, please no.
You know what I don't want? I don't want Kadri. Now, Kadri said he wants to go back.
Lou Lamoriello written all over it.
Here's the thing. Kadri said he wants to stay in Colorado, but he wants to get what he's worth. You know what that means? He's not going to be in Colorado. And Colorado's going to lose players. A lot of unrestricted free agents this year. Nichushkin's the guy I try to sign. If out of all those guys, Nichushkin is the guy I try to sign. Over Burakovsky, certainly over Kadri. I don't want Kadri.
Oh, please no. Frank says, hi, TJ and Grumpmeister. And hello, everybody. What's up, Frank? How are you? Jeff S. says here, Let's trade for Pasternak. Perhaps move Lee, Bellows, and Wild, and then extend them. Remember, Lee's got the full no trade clause, and sign one huge unrestricted free agent. Hopefully, get Bailey's contract out, get a top 4 defenseman who's a lefty. If the team is in win now mode, we need to drastically improve. I do agree with that. We do need to drastically improve. Otherwise, forget the Stanley Cup. I was also about to say, as of now, we're not on the same level as Tampa or Colorado. Yep, that is true. But we're not. Pasternak has a lot more value. He's got a lot of freaking value. Imagine, why would they trade Pasternak too?
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like, why would Boston make that trade?
Brad Marchand's Patrice Bergeron's coming back to play. They're not saying Patrice Bergeron's not saying, "Oh yeah, I'm signing up for another year in Boston." If they're trading away Pasternak. So they're trying to compete for a cup. So otherwise, I don't envision Patrice Bergeron coming back if he's not like, "Hey, we can compete for a cup like this."
Even with Bergeron coming back, I just don't see them as competing. I think they're in the same boat than we are, just not good enough. And Pasternak has one more year left on his deal, and I think he's unrestricted after next year. He'll be 27, so I think he's unrestricted after next year. I don't know. But why would Boston want Lee? Bodie Wild we've killed all value he had. And who else was on that? Was it Beauvillier? They can't add salary. Pasternak's making 6.7. Lee's making 7 by himself.
You want to know what it would cost to get a guy like Pasternak on this team?
We don't have the pieces. We don't have the pieces. I could see if they really want to, okay, we're going to go full rebuild. I could see him moving Pasternak because Pasternak disappears at certain parts of the season.
Why would they do a full rebuild?
I'm saying if they went full rebuild.
Okay, they're not though. So.
Okay, but you realize they're real close to that time. They're looking at coaches like College Quinn, guys who are coaching in other college type coaches, and guys who are coaching in the minors. That doesn't tell me that they're a team that's saying, "Hey, we're all in next year." I don't think that's the case.
Why would Patrice Bergeron come back if they weren't all in to win next year?
Because he wants to play, and he loves playing for Boston.
You think it's that simple?
Very much. He's beloved up there. Absolutely beloved, and he loves it up there. Loves playing for the Bruins. Loves it.
Okay.
And I think you're going to see him get a 1-year deal. He's going to be one of those guys.
Okay.
1-year deals, team discount. You watch.
Fandy Ansis says here, TJ, that pit in my stomach and the realization hit me in the middle of last season.
I don't know what he's talking about.
When I said, when does the pit in your stomach start to feel like,
okay.
Do you not remember that? God damn, that analogy I made, Grumpy. Fair enough, Grumpy.
Well, no, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was just saying that, when does the pit start to feel in your stomach a little bit where you think, oh man, we might be in trouble here. I was more talking about the off season, but Fandy Ansis says the middle of last year. Fair enough.
As soon as they hired Lamoriello and Trotz.
No, stop. We've done well under Lamoriello and Trotz.
We've done okay.
Well, okay. Here's how I classify shit, awful, poor, average, well, fantastic. They're in the well category. We've done well. They haven't done okay. They haven't done average. They made it to okay. In the 4 years he was there, we made it to 2 Eastern Conference Finals.
Woo! Woohoo! Shoot off the freaking fireworks.
Hence why it's not fucking fantastic, Grump, but it's in the they did well category. It's not they were fantastic. Whoa! It was the well category, Grump.
If they would have listened to me, we could be competing for cups every year from now on in.
If they listen to Grumpy, we can guarantee the next 99,000 Stanley Cups.
Stop. Don't re-sign the pieces of trash on your roster year after year after year. Offload them. Load up with draft picks. You'd be right ready to go now with all those draft picks coming into play. That's where you'd be. You'd be like the Rangers now. That's where you'd be. Or the Kings. Instead, you're like, well, where we are.
Anthony R. said, I'm more worried Lou will go crazy and trade all of our young players in the next couple first rounders at his shot this year. We aren't close. Best case, we get the last playoff spot. I don't think we'll do that, but
I think we have a shot to make the last playoff spot. I absolutely do.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's about it, right? I mean, we're not going to beat out Carolina. We're not going to beat out the Rangers. Not going to beat out the Rangers. We might be good against the Rangers head to head, but the Rangers are really good against everybody. I hate to tell you, Shesterkin will not be as good as next year, but I think the
Will
Rangers
not
young
be as good this year or next year as he was this year. Yeah.
yes, but I also think that their young defense is going to be better next year. I really do, and they're probably going to add a piece. They're going to lose a couple of guys, maybe Ryan Strome and Andrew Kopp. But, they have plenty of guys in the front end.
Spots for the young guys to play more.
Yeah. I mean, Lafreniere is just going to get better. Kakko's just going to get better. People forget these guys are only 19, 20 years old. I mean, they're young players.
Coach Tommy B says here, William DeFore has improved his skating a lot this year. Needs to continue his development on that front. The only thing I worry about, skating is one of those tough things. You can improve skating, but there's always physical limitations. If you struggle to skate, in all likelihood, you are going to, it's always going to be one of the points you struggle with in your game. It's not like you can go from a guy who struggles skating to, oh, that's one of the strong suits of my game. If you struggle skating, the best you can get is maybe I could be average. Absolute best case scenario. The sun and moon align. But there's so many guys who go from, I struggle with skating, and I always am going to struggle with skating.
Well, like I said, I'm going to watch. I realize just the third period. I'll see if I can watch the full game because I am really interested in see how he can skate. I know he can shoot the puck. All right. You can do that. Can you skate? Most important thing.
Drew L said, I feel for Barry. I feel bad for Barry. His quest on gambling on older veterans has to be put on temporary hold due to his stubbornness. His ego got inflated thanks to us, and now he's jobless.
I don't feel bad for him. He's still getting paid next year. It's not like he's, going on unemployment.
Getting paid to kick back at home. George B says here, lower your trade expectations and then lower them again. Looking at what the Islanders will be interested in. Lower them and then lower them again.
I'm not doubting that. The closer it gets, the more I feel it's going to be same old, we do nothing. Or we do a B-level trade.
John M says here, if Lou does not get a player he wants as a free agent, he will not make any moves at the draft for a defenseman. Keep all his trade chips for the deadline and make a playoff push if close. But no added players, no playoffs.
Well, unfortunately, the things that the draft comes before free agency. So he doesn't have that luxury of not getting free agents and then that deadline.
Fair enough.
Go War Eagles.
Punta Curtis says, bro, Phil's fax is literally ass. You know he canoodles with the enemy, right?
I don't know about that. I don't know. No, actually, he does not. Actually, he does not. He does not.
Anthony R said, you want to know what I fear is that Lou trades our 13th overall pick in Beauvillier for Anderson to Montreal. I could not imagine that. That would be like Lou Lamoriello has had a brain aneurysm and all the blood is just causing his brain to start swelling. And if that's the last thing he did before he died on the desk, he would never do something. I would like to think he'd never do something like that.
No, I don't even think Anderson for Beauvillier. I mean, maybe it's a fair deal, maybe. But does it make you better? I don't think so. Maybe you're just treading water. I don't know. But that's not a deal I'd make.
The E-Train man says here, we need to get younger and faster. And Lou doesn't realize this.
I think maybe he does realize it, but he doesn't know how to get there.
Or he realizes it, but we're so freaking far away that he says, I can't do to where half the team has speed, half the team doesn't. So I'm just going to have to double down on what I've built. And I'm just going to be like as tanky as we can. And we're going to be, thick. We're going to be strong. We're going to be muscular. We're going to try to bring back the old physical style.
For me, he needs to just transition to that. And it's going to take time. And I don't think he necessarily has that. I mean, he's an older gentleman. I mean, but he's not stupid. All right. He's not stupid. Don't ever think that Lou Lamoriello is stupid. I think he knows where the team needs to go. It's how does he get there? I mean, if you're going after a Nylander and a Chikrin, okay, we're starting to get there. We're starting to make the transition to a modern NHL team. Absolutely, I'm before that because it's not going to happen overnight. A lot of these guys, a lot of the contracts that we have for the older players all expire in a couple of years. You just got to stop signing the guys currently on the roster to extensions. Just stop. Except for Barzal, Dobson, the guys that we've mentioned. He don't even have to worry about Pulak and Pelech. Sorokin, make sure he's locked up. I mean, but Dobson, Barzal, those are the and Wallstrom. Everybody else, just don't re-sign them. Brock Nelson, your contract's up. See you later. You're going to be 33. Anders Lee, goodbye. Josh Bailey, bye-bye. Palmieri, bye-bye. We're not re-signing any veterans. We need to transition away from the veterans and go younger. But you can fill in with your Chikrins and your Nylanders. And again, I'm totally roster baiting here. Absolutely, I am.
When you do that, I just can't even. I can't even envision it because.
Well, this is what I mean. But if you're going to have to make bold moves, if you want to take the team into the 21st century, you're going to have to make some bold moves for younger players.
Anyway, Grump.
Keeping you busy over there? What are you doing? Eating? What you eating over there?
Kept going and going. So I was able to do a little reading. D-Cut says, Lou got a bronze medal in the over 75 shuffleboard tournament this past weekend. Congratulations, Lou Lamoriello. Hold on, Grumpy.
He's got mad skills.
Oh, shit.
Just shut that off because it's the only one you have on the board and you mess it up every time.
Like this one, Grumpy?
That's like from the Little Rascals. Terrible.
Good gracious. So just a little bit more, and thanks, John, for sending this to us. The article was written by the Hockey News, and kind of what this says is that the general manager Kent Hughes is expecting to move on from one or two veterans, that they have been receiving calls for Josh Anderson, and that's pretty much all it has detailed in this area. It doesn't tell us what teams are calling on, so I guess that's a lot of speculation. And again, Steven Rosner there of NYI Hockey Now, who does a good job. He said they could use a guy like that. Maybe he suggested using a first-round pick and perhaps Anthony Beauvillier in return for Josh. Okay, no, I'm sorry, Steven. I like usually the stuff you write, but that's way too much, my friend. But yeah, it's
you realize
somebody you should be thrown in jail.
You realize you could have got the pissant for less than that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think the pissant, even though I don't like him, particularly for this team, is way more talented than Josh Anderson at this point.
He's almost doubled the highest point production he's had.
Yeah, come on.
No. For Josh hold on. Okay, so for Josh Anderson, Kevin Fiala last year put up more points than Josh Anderson did in the last 3 years. Combined, that's correct.
Yeah. Sorry. No.
Josh Anderson, just to think about this, Josh Anderson in his last 3 seasons has put up 60 points. 60 points.
He's been injured though too. He's been injured.
Okay. How many games do you think he's played, Grumpy? Just guesstimate.
I don't know.
I told you guesstimate. It's like add them up. So I need you actually to throw a guess out there.
I want to say 80 games in the last
147 games. 60 points in 147 games.
So he's missed like how many games? I said he maybe missed 80 games.
Remember, they had the 55 games 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Then had the 72, or they had what do they have? Like they had the 72, the 55, and then the
56, 70, and 82. Okay. He's missed time. He's
averaging about a point every 3 games.
Again, though, he's making $5.5.
It's more than that. I'm sorry.
He's missing $5.5. He's making $5.5 million for the next 5 years. I mean, you're going to have to move salary. Okay, you want Josh Bailey? Now, here's the thing. I'd move Josh Bailey for him. I'm willing to roll the dice on that. I do that.
Josh Bailey has better point production pretty much every year.
I don't care. I don't want Josh Bailey on the team. Forget Josh Bailey. He's a freaking human sidecar. You don't need guys like that.
Pointerberg says here, they said that they were trading for Brett Burns. Laughing my ass off. they're on drugs or they're clutching at straws. Like, honestly, forget about the beard and the 3-team trade clause and the cap, everything else. We have right defensemen. I think that somebody else should mention it, and I think in the article they like to pontificate if we could do it, and at the very end they say, "I don't think this would be a good decision," and they go ahead and do
They
this.
like to steal what other people say.
Yes,
And
that
use it
too.
as their own.
Anthony R said, "Stop." Stop. He's not playing against 16 and 17-year-olds. William DeFore, or the Islanders guy who does the Deckhand podcast. Oh God. Okay, no, who does the Deckhand podcast? Who does the Deckhand podcast said the league, the 4 plays in 6% are 16 to 17 years old. 56% in the 56% of the league are between 18 and 19 years old. So the guy from the Deckhand podcast also would allude that 34% are 20 years old in the queue. I would say probably not likely.
Here's the thing. Bottom line, he's an overage junior playing against majority of younger players. Period. And here's the thing. I don't care that he's overage. Can he skate? It's about him being able to skate. What were his numbers last year? Not close to this year because he's the big man on campus now.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. If he was 2 years younger putting up these numbers, he'd be first round. He'd probably be the number 1 pick in the draft.
It's like when you're watching college sports and you see a guy who's a redshirt senior come on campus and he's like, holy shit, he's the best player. He's the best. He's so good. He's one of the best players on the team.
He's 23.
He's had over 1,500 rushing yards this year, and he's caught the ball he's so good. Yeah, that's great. But you start taking the steps. You're not playing college ball anymore. You start taking the steps up and up and up, right? Any sort of deficiency you have in your game that may have been able to float by when you were the big guy on campus gets magnified and magnified and magnified. Got to be able to skate. Have to.
I'm dying to watch.
There's no way only 6% of the players in the queue are 16 and 17 years old. Maybe at the end of the season, at the beginning of the year, there's no way that's true. Only 6% are 16 to 17 years old. Everybody who was 17 years old at the beginning of the year is now 18 and draft eligible. And everybody who is 16 is now 17 will be draft eligible. There's no way that's true. That just cannot be true.
They probably did selective.
I will pull up the numbers later. As Grumpy monologues more, I'll try to pull up the numbers later. I'll have a work assignment. The Pac-Man says, good. I didn't want him. Would have cost too much to acquire him and to pay for him.
You know what? I have that same. Well, I have the Berard jersey from that era, but it's the white one.
Oh, man. Brian Berard, Grumpy.
I like Brian Berard.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just starting a few more of these. Coach Tommy B says here, I've watched a fair amount of him this year. He needs to continue at least a full year to 2 years in EA, talking about William DeFore.
Okay. So once again, if he's a guy that for the right deal and that's who they wanted, I'd move. I'd absolutely move it. In other words, he got a long way to go.
John M says DeFore's success at the Memorial Cup only will be used to add to a trade package, either better pick or to throw in for a player. Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. You got a 5th round pick and you're able to get, a high-end talent by him being a throw-in to make a deal happen. What's wrong with that? It's utilizing your assets. Nothing wrong with that. I guarantee he's got more value than Simon Holmstrom because he blows. Simon Holmstrom sucks. Where's Dirk when I need him?
Oh, man. Chris Smith says here, on paper, I think Toronto might have been the best team this year. They didn't have a goalie and their defense was weak. But, I mean, adding Mark Giordano really helped. But
I'm telling you what, they were good defensively in the playoffs. They weren't abominable. They just didn't know how to win. It cost them at big times. I think having Giordano there the full year next year is going to be really big for them. They're one defenseman away. They're a Scott Mayfield away for me from probably being the favorites in the East. Now, here's the thing. If we get to the deadline next year and the Islanders are out of the playoff hunt or 10 points back, do you start moving your Scott Mayfields and your Semyon Varlamovs? I think you have to, don't you?
Yes. Answer should be yes.
I mean, because then you have 2 years of not being, a playoff team, an old roster. Then you're full rebuild, are you not? If you have the same repeat of this year from next year, are you not in full rebuild after next year?
I'd like to think so.
I mean, you have to be. You have to be. Like I said,
okay.
Just way ahead of the curve on that. Sorry.
D-Cut says here, TJ, the hair plugs look good. No, it's just because I haven't got my hair cut in a while. I'm going to be looking like I'm bald again when I get my hair cut this week. So
look like a damn hippie.
I know. Jeff S. says here, as long as Tampa has their core, Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, and their big four in defense, Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, and Sarnak, along with Vasilevsky net, Toronto will not get past Tampa Bay.
They should have beat Tampa Bay this year. I thought they were the better team in that series this year.
I mean, took them all the way down to Game 7, right down the end. I mean, like Game 6, you could argue, like, right, they had the lead, gave up a goal right there at the end, and hey, goes to overtime, and Tampa wins in Game 6 in overtime.
Well, they had Game 7. They had a goal lead with 10 minutes to go or 6 minutes to go, wound up losing. I mean, like I said, Toronto just didn't know how to win. But sometimes that pain, and Giordano's been there before, that helps you. It's like, okay, we need to dig a little deeper. Still a lot of young players on that team. Like I said, people said, blow it up in Toronto. I mean, that's the stupidest thing you could do. Blow up a team like that. They're so young. They're going to have to be some subtractions. Going to have to. But, who do you subtract? That's the key. They're not going to get rid of Matthews. They're not going to get rid of Marner. Can't get rid of Tavares. I mean, Giordano's there. Riley's there. I mean, they're not far from being a contender. I mean, a serious contender.
I know. You're talking a lot about Toronto today, man.
What can I tell you?
John M. says here, TJ, Islanders draft center Connor Gecky at 13. Heard it here first. I hope not.
I don't have a problem with that.
He's 6'4" and doesn't skate well. That's just what I want. 6'4" power forward who's kind of skating is something that needs to be refined in his game. If you can, right? I want to get the guy where it's like skating is one of the best portions of his game. It's one of his positions of power. Those are the type of players I like to draft, especially when we're drafting that early.
You got to produce too.
Yeah, you do have to produce.
Yeah. Got
to be able to skate.
Yeah, I believe in skating too. Number one, most important thing. But you have to be able to have others. You have to be able to play well all the time too. Can't have guys who disappear. Not good.
Yeah, I think we should
not with your first round pick anyway. Not with your first round.
Draft a guy with perfect skating. We should draft a guy with not only with perfect skating, but a perfect shot, perfect stick handling, perfect vision, perfect pass. He should be perfect, Grumpy. That's what we need.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. I wouldn't cry if we got Connor Gecky. I'm just
I think it's geeky.
Sorry. Tommy B said Marco Casper at 13 is trending. I wouldn't be opposed to Marco. I like Brad Lambert at the spot. I wouldn't be opposed to Marco Casper. What, Grump?
Yeah, Lambert didn't play well this year.
Okay,
he just did not play well this year.
I
would not be opposed. I would not be opposed to Casper either.
I like what I see from him.
Casper?
Simple as that. No. I like what I see. I like what I see from Casper. I also like what I see from Brad Lambert.
I'd rather have Casper than Lambert. Casper's more gifted. He's more gifted than Lambert.
Okay, played in the under 20s. Okay. Brad Lambert played in the elite league. Okay.
He didn't do shit. He was poor this year. He was poor. It was a poor year for him. This kid was really good. He played in Austria, whatever it was, U20s, whatever.
Okay.
He performed well, and Lambert didn't. Here's the thing. If we draft Lambert, it is what it is, but Lambert's projected to go later than 13. He's projected, I'm looking at all the rankings, 18, 21. If you want Lambert, you drop down. You drop down. You don't reach. You don't need to reach at 13. You do not need to reach at 13.
Played in the Swedish Elite League, Casper did. So he want to play, and he played some games at the under 20s, some game in the Swedish Elite League. Just kind of depends. He kind of bounced between bit to bit. And
He's
again,
rated higher than Lambert as a prospect. He is.
here's the thing.
I want Casper.
I'd rather take a chance on a guy like Lambert, who is good, who was penciled to be a top 3 pick last year, but due to a poor year playing in the Swiss league and the elite league, he didn't put up a boatload of numbers. That's what's dropped his stack. I would be fine with that.
Sounds like he's an Atu Ratu. You don't draft him in the first round. You maybe trade up and get him in the second. That I'm fine with that.
Not last until the fucking second. He will be going. I'm telling you, the Finnish elite league. Sorry, not Swiss league. The Finnish elite league.
Nobody thought that Ratu was going to drop into the second round last year either, and he did. He was supposed to
not drop until the second damn round. I promise you that much.
You don't know. People said the same thing about Ratu last year, and he dropped into the second round. He was the number 1 prospect 2 years ago, Ratu, and he dropped into the second round. It happens. Like I said, you don't reach at 13. You draft a guy who's going to fall to you.
It's not a reach. Brad Lambert's not a reach.
He is a reach. If everyone has him rated, if most people have him rated 20, 21, 19, you're reaching at 13. You drop down that if you're so much in love with them. You don't reach. You try to add more. Kicks at the can by trading down a little bit. You don't reach at 13.
If Casper's available, I'm happy. If Lambert's available, I'm happy. And all likelihood, both those players will not be available.
I want Casper now.
Okay. Maybe one. I just don't see both of them being available, so it's a moot point. E-Train Man says here, Lou has been here for 4 years, and all he has to show for it is Pajot and Palmieri, and he gave us 2 1s. He gave up 2 1s and a 2 to get him.
And
this is still Snow's team, except nothing. So
expect nothing.
What?
Expect nothing.
Well, okay, it says expect. Okay, expect.
It says expect.
I'm sorry. No, it does. Okay, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. It says expect nothing. So you won't be disappointed.
And don't forget, it was also a 4th round pick too.
Okay, gotcha. D-Cut says, Grumpy, I'll let you do that.
Shout out to Isles Misery Rated R. Loyal fans of the Islanders Never Say Die podcast.
There it is.
Congrats to D-Cut and the boys.
D-Cut and the boys. Drew L said, I hope Brad Lambert's still on the board and the Jackets take Korchinski. Yeah, I'd like Brad Lambert. I would. No, Grumpy doesn't want him. I'd be happy with him as a selection there, 13.
I just think there might be better players available. That's all.
Okay. John M says the only player Lou is going to get is a Josh Anderson type.
Like I said,
wouldn't that be disappointing?
Yeah, it would be disappointing. I mean, I don't hate Josh Anderson. I don't. I think he's a good playoff type guy. He's a guy you need in the playoffs. But you certainly Montreal wants to get rid of him because they don't want to pay him 5 more years at $5.5 per. You don't offer anything for him. Maybe, okay, I'll have you a 3rd round pick for him. I'd do that. No, we don't even think we have a 3rd round pick. Whatever. Next year's number 3. That's fine. I'm willing to do that. I'm not giving up high value for a guy like that. He makes too much damn money. For 5 years? His production hasn't been worth it. You offer them nothing. You offer them a bag of freaking peanuts and see if they take it.
Alexander says here, the thing is, guys, I want to level everyone's expectation. The Islanders may not do anything this offseason again. If that's the case, then Lou has got to go.
Agreed. But he won't be.
E-Train Man says here, likely Lou move. Welcome home, Nick Leddy.
I swear, if I have false teeth, I would be spitting that shit all over the floor.
God almighty.
Ugh, no.
Drew L says here, Toronto has Rasmus Sandin. Though, if he develops right, he'll be a solid top 4 defenseman for Toronto.
Well, he's still a prospect. And until he's not, that's what he is.
Well, hold on. He played in the league this last year, did he not?
Yeah, but did he play big minutes for them? I don't think he played
1 games. He's played 88 games in the league. I mean, I think he's crossing over to where, hey, he's a 2nd-year guy. Coach Tommy B says here, the Josh Anderson rumor is false.
Well,
maybe people are just putting 2 and 2 dots together, maybe because Josh Anderson's friends with Matt Barzal. Maybe they got beers together, as Grump said, and Montreal's getting a few calls on Josh Anderson, so they assume maybe the Islanders.
It's got to be the Islanders. Hey, the Islanders are on Kevin Fiala. Hey, they're on Panarin. Hey, they're in on everybody. They never get anybody.
They're in on Ilya Kovalchuk.
Never get
It
anybody.
was so close.
Nobody.
Shay says, we all know we're not going to know. We're not going to know of any signing / trades until the end of August. Also, it's lose rumors. Also, lose rumors mean absolutely nothing.
True. Here's the thing, though. If you're signing a big name free agent, that gets announced first day.
I'd
That's
like to
first
think
day.
so.
It's not like, and here's the thing, they didn't announce a Kyle Palmieri signing or Zach Parise or Casey Zizekas because guess what? They're not big signings. But, you know, if you were signing a big guy, that's going to be announced day one.
Paul W. says here, Kadri, why not?
31 years old, and he's going to get wildly overpaid.
Yes, that's what I'm fearful of.
And he's a good player. He's chippy. Every team needs guys like that. He's Brad Marchand light, in my opinion, but he's 31. You don't want to be paying 31-year-olds who come off, you know, an 80-something point season, $8-9 million a year. No.
Okay, gracious. John M says here, Grump, everybody knows the Islanders need to move Josh Bailey, and nobody wants him. So going to have to overpay big time to move him.
I think if you move him to the right team, you can get something for him. I don't think you'll have to give up assets to get rid of him. Again, there are teams, Arizona, Ottawa, who need to get to the salary cap floor. Josh Bailey would bring leadership to Arizona. He's a solid citizen, upstanding guy. And, you know, they only have to pay $3 million cash. I know that makes the NHL, who runs the Arizona Coyotes, very happy, but he counts $5 million towards the cap. That's something that I think would be very appealing to Arizona.
I forgot, Grumpy. Do you remember the message I had sent you? One of those items we were going to talk about today before we got to the comments, but I totally forgot.
The one about the
movie.
The movie, yes. What about it?
I didn't know if you still had that email up. I didn't know if you want to talk about it. Remember, they're talking about
God. Now you're asking me to do your job?
Holy shit, Grumpy.
I was
expecting you to come. I was expecting you to come here ready to go, Grumpy.
You're the one who puts these things out here. Every time I send you something, you just disregard it. And now you're trying to tell me that something you sent me, I don't even know where it came from.
Barbara, I can't remember her last name, but thank you here for sending us. We're going to keep the person who was mentioning this anonymous, Grumpy. Do you remember Barbara? And I'll pull up here the picture right there. They're coming out with a movie, Grump.
Okay, you got the picture. There it is.
Who the hell was it who worked with Clark Gillies as a skating coach?
No, it was Laura Stam who worked with Bobby Nystrom. But this lady was the first female skating coach in the NHL. And she's still doing it, actually, on Long Island. And she teaches, she's old school. So, I mean, maybe she could teach me to be a better skater. Tough love. But she was the first female skating coach in the NHL. And you never even hear about her. So it's nice seeing she's going to get a little recognition.
Barbara Williams is her name. And then they're coming out with a movie on her, and I'm sure she's going to talk about, how she broke in the league. I'm sure she's going to speak about the Islanders, hopefully all good things about the Islanders and about the organization and about the players that she'd worked with, specifically there at Gillies and everything.
Okay. I'm going to tell you what, if you're seeing Islanders logo on like the movie poster, I guarantee you that she worked in conjunction with the Islanders, or the film company worked in conjunction with the Islanders. Otherwise, they would not let you use the logo. If she was going to come out and say the Islanders are shit, you think the Islanders are going to let her use the logo? No, not going to happen.
Probably not.
Definitely not. That's not the way that stuff works. I mean, I'll be interested in seeing the movie. As everyone knows on this podcast knows, I love movies, so I'll be willing to devote an hour and a half, 40 minutes to watching that movie. By the way, TJ, I'm going to see Minions tonight.
Huh.
The new Minions movie.
Anyway, I'm trying to pull up there. I'm trying to see when the release date is of this movie. It would be nice if we knew this.
I'm going to bet that it's probably an indie film. So, it's not going to be playing everywhere. So it's just something that you'll have to look out for. I don't know if it's even
If you're on Long Island, go check out your local movie theaters or local showings there.
Oh, okay. That's not the way it works. You're going to have to actually
go check out your local theaters, Grump.
I mean, is that the name of the movie? The first female skating coach in the NHL?
I believe so. Give me a second. I want to make sure.
If you know the name of the movie, you can look up about possible release dates. Now, if that's not the
name,
name,
what I'm able to do, Grumpy. If I know the name of the fucking movie, I can look up the release dates. Let's pretend like I was hoping you would have a little bit more of it because I told you please read up on this item. I was hoping you would carry this section a little bit more. Grumpy, this is back in your freaking prime and heyday. I was expecting a little bit more from you on this one, to be quite honest.
This movie hasn't even been released yet. How the hell can you say that was back in my heyday? The movie hasn't even been released.
The Islanders back in that time period. I was hoping you could speak about how terrific the Islanders skating had improved under Barbara Williams or something of that nature.
I never even heard of Barbara Williams till you sent me this. I'd heard of Laura Stamm because I know she worked with Bobby Nystrom. I didn't realize that Barbara Williams was the first skating coach in the NHL. I did not know that.
Maybe the movie's already out. God damn it, Grumpy.
Maybe it's already been in and out of the theaters. Who knows?
Well, let's listen to this here.
Of Superior Ice Rink in Kings Park. She is nationally recognized for her intense training methods.
She taught me basically everything I know. She's a great coach. I've been doing it for a while now. She's really helped me with my game. She's always telling us how important it is to stay away from drugs and say our prayers at night. I know she's going to help me.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know. I'm trying to find this, Grumpy, to see if I can get a little bit more on it. Oh man. Okay. Sorry. I'm not going to be able to pull up where it is, but hey, if you're able to find that movie, I think I don't know. Where the hell's the movie, Grumpy? It's called Positive Power.
Is that the name?
No, her book is Positive Power. I don't know, Grumpy. I don't know. Let's change topics. Go on to something else, Grumpy. I'll try to pull this up here.
That's fine. I mean, we can go on to other things.
I wanted to mention it just because we had it up there, and I wanted to mention it there today. Grumpy, I'll let you read that. I'm going to try to do some research, okay?
Once we keep Bailey, imagine the "Hey, Josh Bailey, ooh, ah" chants that will be going on. Personally, I like those, though, because the fans are letting him know to shoot the damn puck. Well, they might be letting him know, but he ain't hearing them. Maybe he's tone deaf. Maybe he's just regular deaf, but I'm sure he's heard those derisive chants. Maybe he thinks they're positive chants for him. I'm going to say they're not. I know when people on this podcast say those things to him, they're not positive. Josh is 10 games away, supposedly, of playing in 1,000 games for the Islanders. That's enough to get your name on the rafters, I guess, but not for a good team. Thomas W. Bach says, I agree with TJ on this one. I don't want Josh Anderson either. I don't see much of a chance signing a top-tier free agent. Perhaps a second tier would sign with them. Maybe a second tier. No top-tier free agent has ever signed with the Islanders. Every year we say the same thing. Oh, the Islanders are on this guy. The Islanders are on this guy. And you know who the Islanders get? Absolutely no one. That's just the way it goes.
Absolutely, Grump. Absolutely. So I'm just clearing out here. I'm going to comment here from Christopher C. Said, Grumpy, do you think the Avalanche victory, we can adopt their system and build this year? Like to hear your analysis. Every detail, Grump.
No, we cannot, because our team is constructed totally different from Colorado. Colorado was loaded with high skill talent players, and they can all skate, every one of them. Look at their back end. Look at Taves. Taves is a plus skater. Makar is like a plus skater. I mean, Byram is a plus skater. On the front end, McKinnon's one of the best skaters in the league. One of the worst skaters is Landeskog. But you know what? You don't notice him because he's on a line with Ranton and McKinnon. So even though his lack of foot speed compared to the other players, he doesn't get exposed out there. I mean, Niskukin, my gosh, Burakowski, Kadri. Those guys can all skate, all of them. That's the one thing that we struggle with. We're an old, slow team. That's why we can't adapt their system. Not this year. That's why I'm advocating that we kind of do a gradual shift to that style. Maybe trading for a Nylander. Maybe trading for a Chikrin. You're not going to get there overnight. Just not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a number of seasons. Cannot trade away draft picks either. And you just have to focus on skating. Most important thing, skating and skill and talent. I've never drafted a guy who's, you know what? He's going to be a good guy. He's a good fourth wing grinder. Those are a dime a dozen. You don't need to be drafting grinders. In the later rounds, you look at a kid. Does he have something? Oh, look him. He's a tremendous skater. I'm taking a flyer on a kid like that. Oh, man, he's got great hockey sense and vision. He's a plus skater. He needs to work on his shot. I'll give a guy like that a shot. I'm not drafting a guy who's a fourth round, who's like a fourth liner, who's just a grinder, though.
Got a lot of comments to jump through, Grumpy.
Okay. You told me you were looking for some, so I'm trying to.
I've given up on that quest. I'm sorry, Barbara Williams. Could not pay you homage enough because it's tough to find your damn movie. I couldn't even find the title of it. I'm reading articles and going on your site. I see your books, but not your movie. Maybe the movie hasn't had a name yet dubbed to it. I don't know. If somebody else is able to do it, maybe I'm just maybe I'm illiterate. You see me read these comments, so maybe it has something also I can't search on the internet. I'm like, like they do those games where people will try to see if you're on Wikipedia, how can you get to something the quickest? I must have been very poor on that. Coach Tommy B said Scott Mayfield is working on extension with the Islanders. Ooh, I hope not.
At some point,
overpaid. They're gonna. He does. Okay, here's the thing. If he wants his fair market value, he will be overpaid, and we shouldn't pay him that much. If he gives his hometown discount, Scott Mayfield will buy you beer the rest of your life because man, oh man, he's earned pennies for what he's contributed to this team.
Okay, but what's a hometown discount for him?
I think $3 million or less is $3 million, 3.5 is a hometown discount. I think on the open market he can make $5 million a year.
Okay, he's going to be 31 when next season starts.
Look how much freaking Ryan Suter.
No. What I'm saying is, do you once again want to get? How many years is he going to want? He's not going to want a 3-year deal, 5 or 6 year deal. Why do you want to pay a 31-year-old defenseman? Give him 5 or 6 years. He's a bottom pairing defenseman for this team. Those are guys you let walk. I love Scott Mayfield.
5-year deal, $3 million or $3.5 million. I jump all over that.
Okay, but he's 5 years. 5 years.
Correct.
He's not that good a skater.
For $3.5 million a year. He's played top four. We know the guy can play a top four role if we need to temporarily.
Okay,
but the guy's a freaking stud back there as a bottom 6 guy.
Okay, but what could he get you at the trade deadline? Again, it's the same thing I'm saying. You got to stop re-signing your guys who are in their 30s. You got to move on. If you could move him for a first, if you could move him for a first and a second round draft pick at the trade deadline, you do it. You got to refresh the roster. You cannot keep on overpaying veterans on this team. We haven't won anything. It's not like we're Tampa. We're not Tampa Bay, where we pay guys and, we're sacrificing the future. They've won cups. We haven't even won a conference. We've never even won a division.
I gotcha. Frank K says, hello from Florida. What's up, Frank? Tommy B says here, Trotz was behind the Taves trade. You want him making those decisions? Remember, we were the first fucking people to opine it. The very first. Hypothetical. Remember, I came out with the jilted lover item. Maybe it's a jilted lover. I remember I mentioned that on the show.
Day of
that happened. Maybe that was the reason why. And now it's maybe we spoke truth to power. Ariel C says here, glad we didn't go after Fiala. Too expensive. Wouldn't want to give the 13th overall pick for one good season. Yeah.
It wasn't even one good season. It was 2 good months.
Okay. Mario says here, back when the one trick pony was canned, I said that I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get hired right away, as some of the idolaters here seemed idolatators. I don't know. I'm sure it's like idols, but idolatators. I'm sorry, Mario. My vocabulary is not good enough to pronounce that. Idolators. I've never heard that one before, but I know what it means. Were seemed to believed.
I think if he just wanted to coach he'd have a job. He didn't want to. He wanted to be GM as well. And no team was willing to offer him that. Would you? I wouldn't. What's his rep around the league? Won't play young guys, doesn't develop young guys. Is that what any coach, is that what any ownership wants? No.
Grumpy, I'll let you read that one.
Helen Yeller says, is Josh Bailey a Hall of Fame player as of now? No. Absolutely not. He's not even an Islanders Hall of Fame player. He's not even a Ottawa Generals Hall of Fame player.
Shay says here, if Trotz was a general manager for a team, then we know where we could drop all of our old overpaid veterans.
I'd love to see him get a job somewhere else. Hey, Anders Lee, you want to go there? No problem. Barry, what are you going to give
back
us?
to the old days. Go ahead, Anders. Josh Bailey, you want to go back with Barry Trotz? Yeah, Josh.
Brock Nelson, 2 number ones? No problem. Now, did you hear that Dan Bilesma got a job with Seattle's AHL organization? He's going to be running their whole operation there.
Let me ask you this. How the hell is a guy like Dan Bilesma? What's up with the fall from freaking grace with Disco Dan? Guy won 2 fucking cups.
Don't know. Maybe the fact that he had Sidney Crosby and Malkin and Letang on that team, maybe, and Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe that kind of helped.
Okay. John Cooper's won 2 cups with 5 first ballot Hall of Famers. If John Cooper, let's say hypothetically, were to be fired, do you think John Cooper is going to be without a job for years and he's going to be at the AHL level when he reemerges? I don't think so.
Bilesma also went to Buffalo and flamed out there too.
Okay, everybody flames out in Buffalo. It's like when it used to be like back in the day when you would go coach for the freaking Oakland Raiders. Sorry, James F., if you're listening. But back when the really bad days, after the Rich Gannon days, it got really dark. It's like if you went to the Oakland Raiders like the Jamarca, it doesn't matter who you put there, you weren't going to be successful.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying.
It's like the Jacksonville freaking Jags. Doesn't matter what coach, what players you put there, they could screw anything up. That's what it's like, Grumpy.
Well, I'm just saying.
And you're like the Cincinnati Bengals before Joe Burrow got there. Doesn't matter who you put there. For one example, you could put one coach there for 20 years and get the same result, which was nothing.
Well, that was Marvin Lewis, whatever.
Melvin Lewis.
Melvin in the Blue Notes. Marvin Lewis was there. Like I said, he was so bad, I can't even remember his first name. He was there 14 years, never won a playoff game. 14 years.
I like Melvin Lewis better instead of Marvin. Melvin.
He's like he's like the Jack Capuano of the NFL. He's there 14 years, never won a playoff game. I don't know how you keep your job.
Oh, man. D-Cut says here, Lou has a history of scapegoating his coaches and never takes responsibility. Major scumbag.
His name is Major Scumbag.
It's private. It's a major scumbag to you.
Captain Can't Win was his coach, but he's Major Scumbag.
Got here a comment from Ariel C. Also saying here, I would rather have a solid left-handed defenseman and Johnny Hockey. Johnny Gaudreau, Grumpy.
Preaching to the choir. I just don't see it happening. I mean, I think we will get a left-handed defenseman. I do believe that.
Brian J says it's going to be a basement top 5 pick this season.
I disagree. I don't think we'll be that big.
I don't think so either.
I think we have a real shot to qualify for playoffs next year. I do.
Vinny L says Lame Orillo will make his usual BS. Was that?
Lamorio.
Oh, Lame. Again, I can't read. So they're probably the Barbara Williams movies out, but I just couldn't find it, or I couldn't read well enough to find it. Lame Oreo will make his usual BS lateral move for an over 34-year-old player. He should have been gone tomorrow. 2-time general manager of the year. My ass. What a joke.
They should just name it the Lamoriello Award for GM of the year.
They want to give him the award every damn year he's there.
They couldn't give it. I don't know how the hell he won either year, honestly.
He should have been given it well before the season started. Don't you remember, Grumpy?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving along. Frank says here, you think we can get Johnny Hockey? Realistically, Grumpy?
No. I'd love to see him on our team. I don't see it happening, though. Is that the type of move we make?
No, absolutely not. Brian J says here, it's going to be a long season. Seats are going to be empty. I always wonder about that. How empty will the seats be? It's no longer the first year.
I spoke with the Ranger fan this weekend. who went to UBS Arena. And I asked because I'm like, we always seem to think that there's a lot of fans disguised as empty seats. And I asked this person, I said, were there, a lot of empty seats? He's like, there are a whole lot of empty seats.
In all fairness, would you say, you said last time on the show, you had said that, God almighty, you said that she said it was after the losing streak or after the 11-game losing streak when they returned home or something like that. So we were at a low point in the season. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
She'd been to a few games, and there were a lot of fans disguised as empty seats. I mean, like I said, it was noticeable to us just watching on TV. It's like, where is everybody? Not everybody's out, ordering, hot dogs for twice the price of a ticket. No.
Got a comment here from John M saying, Grumpy, if Fiala's the pissant, the shoe skin is the piece of shit. No. When I was with the Stars, he was drafted. Watched several issues with the Stars. It grew up a bit, but with the money, he's gonna have to get out of his own freaking way.
Well, here's what I'll say about him. He does seem to have grown up. That was the issue when he was with Dallas. That's why he left for a year.
So was it 2 years? I thought he went to the KHL. Okay,
he left because he was very immature. It seems like he's grown up in Colorado. I mean, you're not at least I'm not the same person I was when I was 20 years old. And, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. All I know is he's got talent. Now, here's the thing. They're going to investigate that. If that's even an option. Here's the thing, John, we're not going to get him. We're not going to go after anybody. We got Josh Bailey on the team. We don't need anything else. Got Simon Holmstrom in the minors. Got Chris Terry, 33 years old in the minors. Goal hanger. He'll probably be a starter for us too.
Got a comment here. Joe F saying it's the 50th anniversary of the Islanders. So you seriously think the owners want to ship product on the ice?
They believe whatever Lou tells them. If Lou tells them, no, Barry was the problem with this team, we're going to be so much better this year, they'll believe him. And that's not going to matter. It's how the team performs on the ice.
I want to share this with you here. This is William DeFore in the post-game interview after winning the Memorial Cup. Grumpy old man. Give me 1 second.
There might have been some questions about how good your team really was. What would you say to people who had those questions now?
I mean, we worked so hard in the last months, and today we just earned what we did the last couple of months. So it's just crazy. Thanks to all the fan airs.
I want to stop that. Remember how we talk about sometimes players look like a boy, players look like a man? I hate to be the bearer of bad news. William DeFore looks like he's a man. It's not like he's got a lot of more development to go, I don't think, physically.
I don't know. I like the interview, honestly. He's getting a little emotional talking about
I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. I just looked at his face and I said, okay. He's not like, with Noah Dobson, right? He couldn't grow a beard. He looked like, he got little scruffles on there. And you could just tell he was a boy. Physically was a boy. Still had a lot of growing into his body to do. That's not the feeling I get with him. That's all I'm saying. But I'm sorry. We'll start this over from scratch. I just want to say, because as soon as I saw it, I wanted to mention it.
He's a big kid.
There might have been some questions about how good your team really was. What would you say to people who had those questions now?
I mean, we worked so hard in the last months, and today we just earned what we did the last couple of months. So it's just crazy. Thanks to all the fan airs. Unbelievable. You see, they are still there just cheering for us. So it's just amazing.
What was the moment like when you realized that you were really going to win the Memorial Cup?
I mean, it's just unbelievable. We had a great season this year, and we earned everything. So we didn't have the playoff that we wanted. So we just worked so hard the last month. So it's just amazing.
I spoke to your mom before the game. Do you think she's more excited than you are right now?
I mean, she's there since day one. Since I'm born, she's there. She followed me everywhere. And, she's probably still there somewhere. I have no clue, but she's there also somewhere. It's just amazing that she's following me everywhere. So I love you, Mom.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good for him. Seems like a fine young man. Was he with that team the whole year?
Yes.
Why doesn't he have a letter on his shirt? As a 20,
He's the assistant captain.
I didn't see a letter on the shirt. I didn't see an A or a C.
I think he was new. I think this year is his first year with the St. John Sea Dogs.
Okay. Like I said, I don't know. I'm just saying I didn't see a letter on a shirt. I don't see a letter on a shirt. I'm just saying, as a 20-year-old.
Okay, he was brand new to the team.
Okay, I'm just saying.
That's all. Anyway.
Okay.
Nice interview. I was looking for a little bit more. Again, I think he looks a little older there in the face. He doesn't look like a boy where, like, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, he's got a lot of physical maturity still left to go. I didn't get that look from the face, but hey, man, I hope he's able to continue to improve his skating, right? Even if he's an average skater at the NHL, that's a guy who can produce and can contribute.
Yeah. Okay.
Simple as that. Eve L says here, does Carolina need a guy like Anders Lee after they took Patrick Marleau? Maybe they do.
No.
I heard Anders Lee's in hot demand, Grumpy. D-Cut says, between Phil and BD Galoff, listening to their podcast cured insomnia for several million adults.
First of all, I don't think that many people listen to their podcast.
Well, they went to listen to it just because they would cure the insomnia, Grump.
Oh, okay. Maybe they should put an ad on there. You don't need melatonin. You don't need no dose. You just need a dose of Phil.
You know how some people listen to like the waves crashing in on the ocean? Some people just listen to Phil and BD Galoff.
Yeah, okay.
Rob G says here, what do you think about Sorokin? Will he be top goalie in the league? I think he has a shot for it.
He's going to be one of the top 5 goalies in the league. I mean, I think he's borderline one of the top 5 goalies in the league now. Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Brian J says, a worst prospect pool in the NHL, talking about
New York Islanders.
The cut said, we're moving to Quebec City after the 2030-2031 season. Read my op-ed in Isles Misery Rated R explaining why it's happening.
TJ, you'll have to read that to me.
I'll have to read that for you?
Or, I don't have any social media presence.
Grumpy, it's online, just on the internet. It's not social media, Grumpy. It's on the internet. Okay. Nick D says here, Grumpy, something different on AEW. They have anything goes double ring cage match. The blood and carnage is unreal.
Well, I'm glad they're finally starting to show some blood on TV again. WWE is unwatchable. Unwatchable.
John A says here, what about going after Pierre-Luc Dubois? He's already told the Jets he's going to explore free agency, and he's a great player.
But he's not a free agent for a while, is he? I mean, I don't know when he's a free agent.
I'll pull up his contract.
Okay. Because, I mean, yeah, he's got talent. He's a center, but I could definitely see where, perhaps they want to I mean, he's young. I mean, I don't know how old he is. He's young. He's a kid.
He's a restricted free agent.
Restricted. Okay, so he's not going anywhere. He might say he can't explore free agency. There is no free agency for him. He's restricted.
Unless he says, I'm going to just do 1 year deal and then leave.
He's 24 years old.
Well, does he have 1 or 2? We can do 2 year deal as a restricted free agent?
3. You got to be 27.
Oh, no, you don't have to be 27 before you're an unrestricted free agent. No way. How many years you play too? What's the equation? Where's Phil's facts when we need him? Damn it, he would know exactly when he would be an unrestricted free agent.
He's putting millions of people to sleep right now.
Stop. I love you, Phil. Coach Tommy B says here, Rangers are in talks with Winnipeg for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Kako is centering around those trade talks.
Like I said, that's what
happens. A lot of cap issues. I'm not sure they're going to be able to fit him, but maybe they're going to have to give away a guy like, I don't know, Kreider. I don't know.
No. Why would give up Kreider? He's got 50 goals. You're going to give up Kreider? He had over 50 goals last year. You're saying let's just get rid of 50 goal scorers? Why? Those guys grow on trees, do they? Holy shit. Kreider. They don't need to re-sign Strome. There you go. They're going
to be pressed up against the cap. They're going to have to get rid of some cap in order to make sure it works. You got to be creative. Ariel C. Because here's the thing. They also need to address defense. They're going to have to bring in a defenseman, Grump. That's a big need for them too, all right? They can't just say we're not addressing the hole on defense.
Here's the thing. They're a team that's not afraid to move off guys on the roster. They don't think just because they draft a guy.
Yeah, guys like Chris Kreider.
They don't need to keep a guy on the team for 40 years like the Islanders do.
Ariel C. says here, how much do we sign Noah Dobson for? Tommy B says maybe 3 years, 10.5 million. I don't know.
What a mistake that would be.
I think we should sign him long term. Right? If we can make it work, this is the only silver lining. Let's assume we don't make any big splashes We have cap space available. Make sure you give him as long of a deal as possible. I would be down for an 8-year contract. I really would. 8 years, $6.5 million. People looked at me crazy when I said that 4 or 5 months ago, and now they're like, "Well, I'm not sure we'd be able to get him that cheap." Or maybe that would be a good idea. More people are coming around to it. He's fantastic. Sign him for as long as we can, and go ahead and overpay him now. Simple. Do the William Nylander treatment on him now, because when he's in the prime of his career, you're going to be saying, "Holy shit, we are so lucky that we have him on such an affordable contract."
But that's what you do, right? You buy out free agency years. That's what you do. Sign it to an 8-year deal.
Restricted free agency years, correct?
No, UFA years by giving them more
restricted free agency years, and that's how you can get them at a lower price. That's what you're talking about, right?
You get them at a lower price by buying out UFA years when they're only eligible to be restricted free agents and don't have that drawing power. So you can buy out free agency years by giving them more money than they could make now as restricted free agents. You've never understood the process.
You're buying out years when they're restricted free agents and overpaying them for years when they're restricted free agents. So you get years when they're an unrestricted free agent at a cheaper price. You're buying out years.
You're buying out UFA years, not RFA years, UFA years.
I'm going to kill you. Jason C. said, I agree with Grumpy. Holmstrom does suck.
And I'm being nice when I say that, honestly.
Oh, man.
He blows out loud. That guy sucks. I don't know what they saw in him, but whatever it was, I know he plays a hell of a banjo. Little albino. He blows.
Got a comment here from Errol C saying here, if Calgary doesn't sign Johnny, I can only see us and the Devils really having a chance. He wants to come back east, and not many people like Tortorella. So who would want to play for Philly? Yikes.
Guys who want to make money. I mean, supposedly the Devils, the Calgary's wants him to get him re-signed. That's like priority 1, 2, and 3 for them.
Gotcha. Alexander says here, hey, Landry. Landry said he had witnessed his head coach in Miami, Adam Gase, threaten to punish players by trading them to the Browns, who went a combined 1-31 in 2016 and 17 seasons.
That's what Belichick did to Collins. Trade him to the Browns. He started freelancing. He's like, you want to freelance in my defense? Trading you to the Browns.
Freedom Fun Adventure says sign a Forsberg or Johnny Gaudreau, perhaps in a shoeskin or Cop, if the budget allows. Cop, Grumpy? Who's that?
Cop for the Rangers, Andrew Cop. I like Andrew Cop. I think actually, if you had a Johnny Gaudreau on the first line, you sign Cop. He does all the dirty work. Put him on that other wing. That's a good first line.
Another one of these guys.
Doesn't matter. We're not going to do that either. Cop is an Islander type player, though, without a doubt.
Okay. Trade for right winger Tanner Janet from Nashville. Young, lots of hits, fights, and 24 goals. Bailey, and he only had 19 hits.
Fucking Bailey.
The Islanders 91 says the NHL fined the Islanders, but it was Dan Bilesma who could not control his bench. Never forget the way that they let Goddard come off the bench and his gang up on Haley when he was fighting Brent Johnson.
Maybe he didn't want to control the bench.
Maybe not, Grumpy. Alexander also says, should we consider bringing Jack Campabello back in some role or another?
No. Been there, done that. No.
Gotcha. Is TJ drunk? Drew Elvis saying, TJ, your dyslexia is kicking in, except, no, I just can't read. So, Jason, I'm illiterate, is what it must be. David Decut says here, when you pat yourself on the back for getting props on the handshake line from the other team that just beat you and your expectations aren't too high.
Wow. That's brutal.
Aloes, anyone says, should Pierre Turgeon be in the Hall of Fame, Grumpy?
I tell you what, he had some really good years. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, though. He's in the Hall of Very Good for certain.
Hmm.
I like Pierre
Longo
Turgeon.
and the Steens both made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice they all went in together, right? They had that magical run in the, 2000 to 2012.
They're a really good team.
Yeah, they were really good. Should have won a cup in 2011. Injuries to their defense did them in. That ended it. They were better than Boston. They were. Too many injuries.
My production says, Grumpy old man must be going through a lot right now. Sorry about not getting Kevin Fiala, Grumpy.
I'm glad we didn't get him. So happy. Did not want the pissant. No pissant. You watch him light it up at the Kings now. But he wouldn't have done that here.
Grumpy, let you read that comment there.
Milbury, Garth, or Lou. Who has made the better draft picks for the Islanders? Lamarillo was last. Dead freaking last. Matter of fact, the Lou horse broke down right out of the gate. 0, nothing with his draft picks. Garth would be second worst. Milbury got the best out of his draft. He got the best players when he drafted.
Yeah.
And guess what? None of them won.
Oh, you said Garth Snow was the best, right?
No, I said Milbury was better.
What?
Milbury had better draft picks than Garth Snow and Lou Lamoriello.
I don't know about that, man.
Really? He had Chara. He had Spezza.
Okay. Those are all top 3 picks, top 5 picks.
What? It doesn't matter where they're picking. You said who got the better draft picks?
What's that, Grump?
Who had the better draft picks?
Shit, man. Garth Snow did a lot. Garth Snow, Sorokin is a Garth Snow guy. Devon Taves, top 10 defenseman in the NHL, per Ray Whitney. He's another Garth Snow guy. Brock Nelson, fantastic two-way center. He's a Garth Snow guy. Matt Barzal is a Garth Snow guy. Josh Bailey is a Garth Snow guy. Whoop, whoop. Josh Bailey, Grump.
Okay. Zdeno Chara, Hall of Famer from Milbury.
Okay.
Roberto Luongo, Hall of Famer from Milbury.
Okay.
Jason Spezza, Hall of Very Good for Milbury. I mean, I'm sorry. Milbury had a lot. Here's the thing. They couldn't develop any of the talent, but that doesn't mean that they didn't draft well.
Maybe because they hated. They were like, maybe. You know how sometimes you get these stories where coach is such an asshole and general manager you hate your life so much that as soon as you get out of there, you just succeed and thrive because you want to prove them wrong. Maybe Milbury had that effect on players.
Maybe. He was awful nice when I met him. He was a nice guy.
Anyone says, how much say will Brent Thompson have in who gets drafted? Zero?
Less than 0.
Frank C says here, with the Islanders coaching change. So who do you guys think DeFore? Do you think DeFore will be given a chance?
He's not ready.
No, nowhere close to ready enough.
No.
Maybe Grumpy will let you read that.
Bailey for Anderson straight up, I'll do that. Yeah, I do that. Straight up, I do that. But why would Montreal do that? I mean, maybe they want some leadership in the room. I mean, they lost Shea Weber. Maybe that, like I said, I'd be willing to do that. You're taking on more years of contract, but Anderson's a better player than Bailey.
And then Frank C said here, Barbara Williams was also the skating coach at St. John's ice hockey team. Oh,
very good.
Learn new things every day. Thank Frank C. Alexander says William DeFore was just named the Memorial Cup MVP, Grumpy.
Yeah, he put up great numbers. I think he was like 1 goal away from setting the record for goals in the Memorial Cup.
Won't you read that? Continue, Grumpy.
I think this team should just unright the wrongs Barry did. Bring back Golashev. Give him his much deserved chance. Bring back Hosang, etc. for depth. Well, that's not happening. Golashev said, screw you. I'm going back to Russia, to Mother Russia. And Hosang's not even with the team anymore. So
I don't think Hosang is Hosang even playing the A anywhere.
I don't know. Probably maybe he's with the Marlies still. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it just wasn't good enough. had the issues, stunted development growth, and he just wasn't good enough. A mixture of both don't help. Very skilled player, just couldn't put it all together. Alexander says here, Grump, if we're in first place at the deadline, then you don't move Mayfield and you trade a first for a top-notch guy. Is that correct, Grumpy?
Okay. I'm not trading any more first-round picks. No freaking way.
First place, you're not trading away first-round picks?
Okay. For this exercise, do you really think we're going to be in first place next year?
It's an exercise, Grumpy.
We're not going to be in first, so it's not happening. But no, if you're like 10 points in a playoff spot, I'll go that far. If you're 10 points in a playoff spot, you don't trade Mayfield. You're not a seller at the deadline. But if you're 10 points out, you're absolutely a seller. I'm not trading first-round picks. I'm just not. I'm not trading first-round picks.
Ty B says here, Johnny Gaudreau to the Devils is probably the landing spot. I was about to say the Devils are a team I think going forward that can really develop. Do they have the right coach? Go ahead, Grumpy.
I don't know. I just see them as just being a bunch of parts all just thrown in a bag. No rhyme or reason to what the hell they do. Nothing fits together. Just a bunch of I don't know. I could be wrong. I think Pittsburgh is a dark horse for him.
Gungun says, Grump, who'd you find more attractive when you were younger and still unsure of your sexuality? A mustache-wearing Bob Nystrom or a curly afro-sporting Ron Duguay?
Ron Duguay always looked like a bitch.
So Ron Duguay? Who'd you like, Grumpy?
No, Ron Duguay always looked like a bitch. Bobby Nystrom looked like a man. And here's the thing. I've always been sure of my sexuality. Sorry.
I know I'm not supposed to speak with a mouthful. But
This DeFore kid will be working in Target in 4 years. I don't know if they have Targets up in Canada. Maybe he'll be working for Tim Hortons. Tim Ward says, TJ is a total moron. I agree. Willing to bet he's never seen DeFord play. I'm going to say that's probably correct too. Here's the thing.
I've seen him play, and he does not skate well.
He's
an average skater. He's an average skater in juniors, brother. He's an average skater in juniors. The level of skating increases at the AHL and increases even more to the NHL level. He is a long way away. A long way away. Come on, Tim.
Wow, TJ sticking up for himself. That's unusual.
This is the reason why, like, we look at when Islander fans overrate. I've been guilty of this 100 times where we overrate our own prospects. We are unwilling to look at the glaring. Sometimes it's not a glaring issue. Sometimes it's like a little wart, not a big one. This is like a freaking monumental cyst. It's impossible not to notice that he's not a good skater.
Can I just say something? In Noah Dobson's draft year, he played and they won the Memorial Cup, but the best player on that team was Durando. And he was an overage player, and he was lights out the best player for them. He and Bill Bow, they were both really good. And you know where Durando is now?
In the ECHL, bouncing between ECHL and the AHL.
He's with the Islanders farm team, and he's not going to get a shot because that's what happens with overage players. They shine because they're older. It helps.
By the way, Durando that year, the numbers were nowhere near as good as DeForest, right? We're not going to lie. 68 games played, had 73 points. And in 23 games played in the playoffs, had 20 points. He was a point a game a guy. He was one of the better players on the team that won the Memorial Cup.
What about Bill Bow? Was he in there too?
Who?
Bill Bow, I think his name was Bilboa. Maybe not. But you were hot on Lavoie in that playoff.
I like Raphael Lavoie.
Now, he was older too. He was like a 19-year-old when he got drafted. I don't think he's done anything in the NHL yet.
He hasn't been in the AHL. He's in the AHL for the Edmonton Oilers. 56 games played, 26 points.
But see, that's what I mean. And he was older.
He could skate though too, but he was older. That's correct.
But I'm just trying to say, when you're older playing against the younger kids, it's an advantage. You're more physically developed. That's why they shine.
Oliver Giroux. He had 80 points for them last year. He had 80 points in that same year in 65 games in the game, and the leader was Samuel Asseline. I don't know.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Rafael Lavoie in the freaking playoffs in 23 games had the 32 points. He led the team in playoff points, and then Arnold Durando was second on the team in playoff points.
Okay, yeah. So and that, like I said, and they were older prospects, and when you're older like that, that's what happens. You're playing against younger players, and it's like a big fish in a little pond. Unfortunately, for most of them.
I'm sorry, they did not win. They did not win the Memorial Cup yet of the year. That's when the Arcadia Bathurst Titans won, didn't they? And they played Halifax, played Arcadia in the finals.
And no Adoption's team won.
That's correct. Okay, he was on the Arcadia Bathurst Titans, if I recall. Yeah, because it was like the first time they'd won in so many years or whatever it was. Who knows? Michael T says here, "What's up, fellas? Who can we get from Chicago?"
I don't think we're going to have enough to trade for anybody for Chicago. If Chicago's moving their couple of big pieces, they're going to want a king's ransom. Brenda DeBrincat is a 40-goal scorer. They don't grow on trees. And he can actually skate. He can move. Not like that lumbering lummox that we have on our second line. Patrick Kane supposedly could potentially be available. You really want to trade for Patrick Kane? Not at this stage of his career. One other thing about the four, if they weren't hosting the tournament, they wouldn't even have made the tournament. I mean, that's the only reason they made the Memorial Cup, because a team that hosts automatically gets in.
Home ice advantage helps. Jason C says here, "I hear women say that Grumpy is the ultimate sex symbol in hockey podcasts."
They do say that. Thank you, Jason.
Ooh,
what's going on over there, TJ? Bless you.
Mike C says, "Grumpy, you're drunk." Well, damn. I was drunk earlier. You're drunk. Anyway, Tommy B says here, "Milbury did not draft Spezza, Chara, and the number 2 overall pick were traded for Yashin before the draft." Grumpy.
Who turned it out to be Chara, and it was Spezza.
Okay, so he didn't draft those.
Okay, but he would have been drafted. He was number 2 pick in the draft.
I think it would have sun don't shine. We don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have drafted Chara. He didn't actually draft Chara.
He did draft Chara. Chara played for the Islanders.
The draft.
Chara played for the Islanders. He was drafted by Milbury. You're wrong.
Okay, so he was not picked by Milbury. Then why the hell did you throw him out there?
Chara was. Chara was a 3rd-round pick for the Islanders.
He was drafted by Milbury.
Yes.
Milbury traded him away. Milbury drafted him as well.
Yes. You forget how long Milbury was there.
How long was Milbury there for as a general manager?
10 years.
Oof. D-Cut says, and 3 were named: Campoli, Gervais, and Martinek. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Martinek. Oh, my God.
Show you how bare that dope Pillsbury left the cupboards. The 2006 and 2007 Islanders team that made the playoffs, and Garth's first year had drafted 4 players on it.
Yeah.
4 drafted players on it. Yeah. And then I Want You to Sigh says here, though Rick DiPietro was a poor number 1 overall pick, they could have got Danny Heatley.
Or Marion Gaborik.
Yep.
And they did have the number 5 pick, and they drafted Rafi Torres.
Yeah, Jesus. Want You to Sigh says here, Milbury drafted fine, but then traded them all away before they could make an impact.
That was his thing. Trade them all. That's right. Bertuzzi, excuse me, Eric Brewer, Brian McCabe. Like I said, he drafted well.
Hold on. You think that Eric Brewer's not, for where he was drafted, he was not a great pick.
Eric Brewer played 20 years in the NHL.
Okay. What was he? He was a top 5 pick, wasn't he?
He played 20 years in the NHL.
That'd be like saying Eric Johnson's a good pick. He was a top 5 pick, and he played a piss ton of years. It doesn't mean you're a good selection.
My God. Eric Brewer was a good defenseman. He was a good defenseman. I don't know what you're talking about. Todd Bertuzzi?
Overall.
Todd Bertuzzi was good for everywhere but here.
Todd Bertuzzi was good.
Brian McCabe, he was a good defenseman. I mean, Rafi Torres, I don't know.
He was not good.
But here's the thing. Milbury had drafted better prospects. They didn't work out for the Islanders because of all the other issues they had, but he drafted better players.
Drew Ellis says, Felix Bibu. What's your thinking of him, Grumpy?
That's
it's Felix
right.
Bibu.
Felix Bibo. Yeah, Felix Bibo.
That was Bibu. Felix Bibo.
Bibo. It's not Bibu. It's Bibo.
He plays for us. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I didn't know that's who you were talking about. Yeah, he had a really good year that year. He was the guy who didn't actually get drafted, and we went ahead and signed him there as an overager, I think.
Yep. Felix Bibo.
Yeah, Felix Bibo. And then Tommy B says here, Char, 3rd round pick by Mike Milbury. Okay, fair enough. We got a Hall of Fame caliber goalie, perhaps, and a guy like Ilya Sorokin, Grumpy. So that's from Garth Snow right there. Yeah, I know how much you hate when I do that. Alice91 says here, Barzy creates a lot of space. Who is the best one-timer in the league? Forwards only. Imagine he could pass to one of those people. Alexander Ovechkin. I feel like he's still probably got one of the best one-timers in the game for a forward in the left wing.
It's got to be Ovechkin.
Even
at his age.
Wade Flaherty said, "What are you eating, TJ?" I'm eating.
I just want to say, TJ, let me ask you a question. What if I had been eating during the podcast?
Motherfucker, I'm starving.
You'd lose your.
You kept going, man. I was right. I'm like, I need to eat.
You'd lose your mind.
I need to eat. I had lunch. I had freaking eggs. I had eggs and a little bit of sausage. Not a lot, Grumpy. I gotta eat.
Did you listen to the radio when you were eating eggs and sausage at lunch?
No, quiet, Grumpy. In quiet. Christ. Is that a racer gaming chair you're sitting on, TJ? It's a secret lab chair. It's very nice. It's a very nice chair to sit on.
Sounds like a secret squirrel chair.
It's a good chair. Not an endorsement. Well, and I can pay for it, but I love the chair. It's a good chair. Anyway, yeah. Milbury drafted Radek Martinick. Yeah. 2. He served a lot of years in the league for a late pick like that. But Grump, man, we're here at the end of the show. What do you want to say before we wrap things up? Because this Saturday, right, we're going to be talking about draft prospects, talking a lot about players. So bone up, Grumpy, here now. Bone up on the draft prospects. We're talking about that this Saturday. It'll be very in-depth on Wednesday.
I'd like to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to the show. Again, it's nice to come back and talk some Islanders hockey. First time in a while. It's just been all Islanders, and it's nice. I miss that stuff every once in a while. That being said, thank you for tuning in. We'll be live again this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to start having guests on the show again once the NHL draft is over. That being said as well,
we got the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show tomorrow.
Grumpy Old Man tomorrow. Yeah, check out TJ and the Grumpy Old Man tomorrow. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Can be found in the link in the description below or as a featured page on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.